on YouTube. We had a little hiccup this morning. The original link did not work. And, I'm not sure that people are seeing us live. If you're seeing us live, please let me know. I'm going to check here. Descriptions. Oh, it says we are live, and there is Jesse. Let me try refreshing this one. I don't know what's going on here. Let's try to open YouTube again. Craft growers. If you guys can see us in the chat, please let us know.
Yeah, it looks like it's working, man. We're good. What's up, everybody?
I don't know why it's not working on my iPad, but we'll just let that one go. Plug in a battery so we don't lose everyone. And I'm going to go live briefly on Instagram just to get people to head over and check us out. Flip that around. Sorry about the delay for everyone that is watching already. What's up, everybody? This is Gaby Staten Island on the Craft Growers Network. We are live on YouTube and Instagram with my buddy Jesse from the Mothership Lab. Say what's up, Jesse.
Nice to meet everybody.
And
I'm
so
excited to be here with you guys.
So for those of you on Instagram, we will not be staying live on Instagram for long because, well, Instagram hates us, and so we're not gonna keep this live going on Instagram for too long. But I just wanted to send this quick message out to you guys to get you guys to go over to the Craft Growers Network on YouTube and check us out. Today is our 1-year anniversary. We did our first show a year ago, and so I'm really excited to be doing this. The Slovenian Hobbit has joined us with a fresh haircut. And so anyway, guys, please head over to YouTube, look for the Craft Growers Network, and let's do this. And now, share. Sasha, how are you? We can't hear Sasha yet. He doesn't have his headphones.
Now you hear me, okay?
Now I can hear you, okay. Yes, sir.
I have headphones. I just lost one. Wait, I have to find it somewhere. Yeah, I'm advanced now. Look, I have headphones.
Oh, nice. Are those those are Bluetooth?
Yes.
Okay, are they fully charged?
Almost full, yeah.
Okay, because
I have my from my son the PlayStation ones ready to lock on if they don't.
The one thing
But I
that you
hear
need
much better than normally.
Great. The one thing you need to make sure is that they don't die, because we're going to be going for 3 to 4 hours. If they happen to die in the middle of this podcast, you'll lose your audio. We won't be able to save it. So just make sure that they don't die.
Oh.
If it's gonna die, like if you get some type of beep,
then I will use this one.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is, if you get some type of notification that it's gonna die, like a beep, then you just need to log out. You don't want to just change your headphones. You need to log out, and then you'll be able to just log back in with your new headphones.
Okay. Cool.
I got this. I could just start drawing pictures on the whiteboard to communicate with you, man. That works.
Nice. Alrighty, I'm making this post, and we are ready to go. Hello, Gabby. Me and a friend of yours, name is Brent Jiggy, out here in Oklahoma, had to say lots of great things to say about you. Thank you at Dank5809. Anyway, let's get this party started. I'm gonna get this started by I fucked up this joint already. But I got a spare.
I was gonna roll up with you, man, for your anniversary, but I got a lot of math and things to do today, so I'll spark one later with you, brother.
You can't do math when you're high.
Not good math.
Dude, I love this. Check this out.
Oh, what? That's awesome, man.
It's from
Is that a
Snodgrass.
Snodgrass?
It's a Snodgrass. Yeah.
Dude, I had an awesome Snodgrass piece long time ago that
I'm forgetting the name of the guy that sent it to me. I'm embarrassed, but he's friends with Mr. Spliff of cannabis. And I told the story about how all my glass burned in the fires, and he's like, "Well, I can send you this." I was like, "Hell yeah!" And I fucking love it. I
awesome.
use it every single day. Super nice.
dude, the people are demanding not so, man.
Not so. It might be a little late. He's got some family stuff, but hopefully he'll join us.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
but
see?
we got the Slovenian Hobbit, and I also sent an invite over to Cosmic. So
Awesome, man.
start the show. I want to say thank you guys, everyone, for the support. It's been 1 year since we've been doing this podcast. And to be honest with you, I never expected in a million years that we would have the success that we did. My first, and I'll take a step back and say, real big thanks to Cosmic and to Nick Wolf, for helping me get all this started. Cosmic reached out to me on Instagram. It was a little over a year ago, and he recommended that I join Craft Marijuana on Reddit, which I did, and that's where I met Nick Wolf. And I was talking with Cosmic, and I was telling him how I wanted to respond to a video that Not So Dog made, because Not So Dog made a video saying, he was mentioning me and saying how I felt about things, and I felt like it wasn't really accurate. So, wasn't really how I felt about things. So, I wanted to make a response video, but I didn't know how to do it. And so Cosmic helped me out, and we made our first video using Zoom, and it was an instant hit. As far as I'm concerned, we were getting thousands of responses, and I'd never made a YouTube video before. So, that's how it started. Big thanks to Cosmic. And then after that, Nick and I decided to take it, even further. That first video wasn't on the Craft Growers Network. I made a channel, which I still have. I call it Gabbing with Gaby, or Gaby SI. And on that channel now, excuse me, I post videos still more on the plants that I'm going to be posting, that I'm going to be selling on my website. If you guys want to check out my website, go to GabySI.com, GabySI.com, and you can see all my offerings. But yeah, so the first video went on the Gabbing with Gaby, or Gaby SI YouTube channel. And then after that, Nick and I went and decided to make the Craft Growers Network. And Nick has made a bunch of really great content, including a video with Jesse. His show is called The Way We Grow. And, my show, Your Weed Stories, is more about just stories. Like Jesse's going to tell us today his story about, how he started in cannabis all the way through what he's doing today. But Nick's show, The Way We Grow, is more technical, and people are telling their techniques on, how they're growing. And so, big thanks to Nick and Cosmic. If it wasn't for these guys, none of this ever would have happened. So, yeah, I'm going to dedicate this show to both of those guys. Also, before we get too much further, I want to thank everybody for all the love and support that you guys sent over the last week after I made the last video about Riley dying. Before I said any of that stuff on the YouTube video that we made on the live last week, I was hesitant. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this or not, because A, I didn't want to be a bummer, and B, I didn't want to cry, which I did. But one of the things that's important to me in making this channel is I want the viewers to get to know me. And it's not just a show, it's a conversation, right? And that was me. This is who I am today. That was who I was last week. I was going through a lot, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And I'm super grateful for the response. People sent so many kind words and sent so much love for Riley. And every one of those messages that you guys sent me, I shared it with Riley's family, and they were really touched. So, again, I'm really grateful for everyone that's been watching and supporting this channel. So, with that, I'll stop with the cheese, and we'll get to the beef of it. Today, joining us, our guest, the Slovenian Hobbit is my co-host, but our guest today is Jesse from the Mothership Labs. I think I've known Jesse now for almost a year as well, since he did his first podcast with Nick, and we've gotten a big friendship. I consider him my mentor. He's teaching me all about tissue culture, and we're going to be working together. I'm going to be part of the Mothership Labs, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Man. But to start, we just want to ask Jesse to introduce himself and tell us his weed story. Tell us how, what your first experiences were with herb. And yeah, take it away, Jesse.
All right, man. Well, first want to say, man, I'm proud of you for, it's 1 year and I've been watching you grow and putting a lot of good out into the world, man. So it's an honor to work with you and Sasha and the rest of the crew. So excited about the next phase, man. We're here. So yeah, I'm Jesse, one of the founders, CEO of the Mothership Labs, and kind of came about. We basically quit everything and decided to do it ourselves with good people that share the same values and just kept everything tight. I don't really come out a lot. I think the only time I've been on where I was on Nick's podcast and things, but hopefully you'll see a little bit more of me.
We're gonna be making some content for sure.
With a lot of awesome content. Yeah. So I've been in the industry. Well, we'll say, working with this plant for a long time, like a big part of my life growing up in Kentucky. It's where I grew up. I've traveled around quite a bit, just growing and everything, and learning. And then came to Colorado in 2014 and started, I wanted to go get into the industry, and I started as a trimmer. And I just started working as hard as I could every day through every single position that I could get, and then ended up running multiple facilities and extraction. It was at a time, and especially in Colorado, the industry was getting a little weird, and people, money was tightening up, the price of pounds was going down, all that. And I just left and worked in biotech, which was a crazy it's a crazy story all by itself. Is how how I got that
Well,
position.
before we get to those crazy stories, can you tell us your first experiences with cannabis, like when you first got exposed to it?
Yeah, so it was. I think it was my friend's older brother. Um, he was he was always smoking weed. The standard older brother story. We snuck in, stole some weed from him, and we're like, we're so high. It's like one of those scenarios. It was crazy. One of the times that we got high, we found oil, and this was before BHO and everybody was blasting and all that. That he brought home from Jamaica. So and it
Was
was
it
so
green or
good.
was it green or was it golden?
It was golden. Yeah, some like honey oil, right?
Yeah. So they had the
And
like hash oil and the honey oil.
yeah, man, I was too young to get into that, man. Like, I remember we were in my best friend's basement. His sister came down, and we had like trying to figure out how to smoke it. We had like a sterno can and like these contraptions rigged up with butter knives, but it was crazy. But I think it's hard to like pinpoint the first actual experience. I mean, I was young. I was around weed when I was like 10 years old, probably not smoking every day by any means, but my neighbor, there's a lot of weed in Kentucky. A lot of people grow. I mean, everywhere. It's one of they grow some really good weed out there. So it's kind of part of the culture too. But I remember, I think the first live plant that I saw was one of my neighbors. He was like, check this out. And he had like a plant growing like this big. So that's what it just got me into it. I was like, this seems awesome. Like, you know, exciting. And I started getting high. And then there was one time, I think it was the same friend, his sister's boyfriend. We found a bag that said just oregano on it. It was not oregano. It was some really bad weed, but that's how we were just getting high when I was young.
You
We were like,
might have gotten as high just smoking oregano, right?
oh, dude, it was so bad. It was like, it was all shake, just garbage. But yeah, because you start getting high. Like I didn't know anything about genetics, or I mean, I was young, and until the older brother's friend, like the plug from Cali, we were old enough to where he was like, all right, let me show you guys what's up, and started bringing in the still to this day best weed ever, man. Northern Lights, Afghani, all this stuff it was just beautiful. So
I mean,
yes,
back
I
in the
guess
day,
I would
we
say
had the
that's the
weed we
start,
had, right?
Yeah, it was
It's like we could get this. We were grateful. It was like
exact. I mean, and it didn't
if it
take
was that
much to get
oregano shit, it was
high.
like that's what we smoked. That
Yeah. Some
you know
we got flat weed. It was like, let's roll up some flat weed, man. It's
brickweed.
some brick weed. I honestly miss brick weed. I got somebody send me some C packs that were from a brick. So I got some Jamaican red hair from some brick weed and some other. I'm like, I just want to plant those, man, and see what happens too. We'll get in there.
What's crazy
Um,
is I used to get Jamaican weed, and that Jamaican weed was super potent. And
yeah.
when people talk about you know the potency of weed back in the day, I mean that Jamaican weed, it was sleeper weed. It would just put you to sleep.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, super potent. And it's a shame because all those strains are getting lost because we brought all of the modern Cali weed to um, to Jamaica. The Jamaicans wanted the modern Cali weed, and they started growing all that stuff. And I fear that the lamb's bread and all the original Jamaican weed is going to be lost.
I got some seed stock of some of that stuff. But
There's Cosmic.
what's up,
Hey,
Cosmic?
what's
How
up,
you doing,
guys?
man?
Nice to see you
How are
guys.
you doing, buddy?
Oh,
Good to
busy,
see you,
busy.
brother. I'm ready to
Nice to
start
have
on
you.
your collection here soon, man. I'll
Oh,
get it
I
knocked
actually,
out.
I think I got some stuff I can send out. So we'll touch base via text, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna get Gabby's bunch of Gabby stuff in too. Oh, Gabby, we could probably do this while we're chatting, but I put it back in the vessel and it's just cruising. But I got a rooted sour diesel. Sour
Gabby
diesel here.
now. Show it. Put it on the screen.
It's way overdue, and I transferred and multiplied the other one, so it's just flopped out in there. But I have probably 300 of them coming up that I multiplied.
Nice.
You said you wanted a bunch of those for the people, so I got a few long boxes of I call them sourlings. All these, they're coming up, man. So a lot of good stuff. But yeah,
Well,
man.
Gen 0 and Gen 1 Gabby Staten Island Sour Diesel is on the way from the Mothership Labs.
It's coming up. We got
You missed me,
a
Cosmic. I got
lot
really
of
sappy.
stuff.
What was that?
I said you missed me getting sappy about you. Just telling everybody how much I love you and appreciate you, and how none of this would have happened if you didn't say, "Oh, I can help you with that." And,
Yeah, man. I love doing stuff, you know. Feelings
Yeah.
mutual too, you know.
And we made those first podcasts. I think one was called "Down the Toilet." When
Yeah,
we
I remember that
talked about how I
story.
used to flush all. I gotta work on my podcast names, but that one was called "Down the Toilet," and then I think we had another one that was called "Bitten by the Dog."
Yep.
So, but and,
I'm
you know,
so
the
bad at naming, dude. I can't. I need someone to help me name all my genetics.
podcast names
terrible.
are the only thing that's worse than naming genetics.
I
But,
feel like it's naming a band. You know, like it's
Too much
such an
pressure.
agonizing
Too much
process.
pressure, man. I leave them at. Well, I got these feed. I just leave the key codes on there, like RP4, 6, AB. But to give you an idea, I named my dog Professor Taco Razor Ramon Bobby Digital.
Nice.
That's his name. That's his full name. We also call him Bobby Bean Dip, and his just standard name across the board is Tom because he. I think I was renting a room out, and he would just call him Tom, and it's all he listens to now. I'm like, his name is Tom now. It's all
Do you
good.
use his full name when he's in trouble?
It doesn't work. He doesn't listen. He's just like, you can't run my life. He's hilarious,
He
dude.
makes believe he's deaf.
He's the funniest little dude. He works with us every day now. So I'm like training the crew for our lab here. And he's paying attention, following around. He's exhausted at the end of the day, dude. Just putting in hours. So,
He's learning tissue culture.
he's part of the crew. He's part of the crew now, man.
All right,
But-
well, let's get back to you telling your weed story.
And a heads up, I'm going to constantly try to derail the conversation back onto you. So,
Hey, Amanda Huggins asked a question which we're not going to answer right now, but I'll encourage her to ask that question again later on in the podcast, and we'll get technical about tissue culture and hormones.
oh
And,
yeah,
you know, the excessive use
Amanda,
of
I
alcohol.
got you covered. Yep. There's a lot to unpack there too. And that's something we're going to be covering in our master classes and everything that we're all going to be doing together. It's exciting. We have so much. Well, we'll get to that, but we have so much ready to launch. It's been crazy. And I'm a little more acclimated to society now than the first podcast I did with Nick. I was like stuck in a lab. I think it was like a year and a half by myself, 12-hour days. So I'm learning to communicate again with human beings. So give me, just be easy on me.
We'll just
But-
give you the tough love.
Yeah, just keep me in line, dude. It's all good. We're here together. And if Nick's watching this, I promised, I dedicated to this. I told him I'm growing a 2001 Randy Johnson mullet. It's different than all these new school mullets, by the way. If you're not familiar with Randy Johnson, aka the Big Unit, he's a pitcher, and he exploded a bird with one of his fastballs. Have you guys seen that guy?
Yeah.
He's a legend. So just make sure
Yep.
Nick sees
Oh.
this. I'm dedicated. It's coming up. We're getting into mustache tech next. This is going to be good. And then science. Well, science comes after that. So
So, get back to telling us your story about your first exposures with herb. before you made the big move?
Yeah, so like early on, man, like I said, and which I also miss is just burn like flat weed or just some Reggies. Being able to smoke stuff all day, that's what I miss. I want some lean flat weed again. But that's really what I got started on because that's all I could get. And one of those stories, because really when you asked me to tell my story, I was like, man, it's hard for me to do it because it's the first big part of my life was crazy. Like it is crazy. And something you and I talked about, Gabby, is like I think my those big pieces of my life that made me who I am is better told from the people that were in my life because there's so many stories that tell the story, you know. So maybe we'll have I picture like those quick snippets of like Jesse's an asshole or oh can I cuss on here? I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, no,
But
it's totally
you know,
fine.
and I think that's gonna tell my story much
Well, that's
better.
why I
You know,
like
man.
podcasting with Not So Dog.
I like science in the front, party in the back. I love it. That's it.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
that's why I like podcasting with Not So Dog because
Yeah.
we're part of each other's stories, you know. So next time if you have a friend that you want to invite to tell stories about, with you, we can do that. But what I'll say is, it's I think it's important to document your story as best as you can, and sometimes it's difficult, but
For sure. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
think, and I've said this before, I think it's important for people to document their story before they forget stuff, and that
Mm.
way their story can be, around when they're gone. And I know that you had a really tough life, and fucked up shit happened along the way, but seeing where you are now can also be inspiration for people, right? Saying, hey, you know what? I had
Mm.
some difficult times, but now I'm making dude, what Jesse is doing right now is really for cannabis. It's cutting edge stuff, and you know, some of the stuff we
Mm.
can't talk about it, but
It's crazy, right? Oh,
I mean, sometimes talking to you, I'm just like, are we in like, is this reality now or is this the future? It's crazy. So, and
yeah.
you know, tissue culture itself isn't new, but it's really new to cannabis. And
Yeah. Yep.
so we have a lot
Relatively
of
new,
like
man.
learning and learning through like experimentation on what's the best way to do things. And I know, like,
Mm.
since I've known you in the last year, you've changed your hormone recipes multiple times, and you'll get some that'll give you more like branching, and then some that'll get you more stretching, and that can all be desirable like at different times. So it's like even somebody with the
Yeah.
experience that you have, we're still learning and adapting. So it's exciting.
Never want to stop learning, man. And that something I learned from you was just telling my story because I spent the majority of my life actively trying to make sure people didn't know who I was or didn't know what I was doing. And, even though I don't like it, makes me uncomfortable. I learned that from you. And I think it's important, man, because hopefully it could help people or inspire or connect and put more good out in the world, because I've definitely changed my life in a lot of different ways. And tissue culture has been awesome, but we do. But it started by just smoking some shitty weed when I was young, right? And I guess going back to that, yeah, there was became there's a point where it became like the part of the culture and the friend groups and all that stuff, to where it was like this is who I am. But at that time in my life when I was young, it wasn't who I was at all. I didn't have anything. I had to kind of raise myself in a lot of ways, and had a lot of traumatic stuff, in my life growing up. And that led into, because growing up in Kentucky, when I started getting older, that led into like the height of the opiate epidemic, and I-95 from Florida all the way up. So it was kind of smack in the middle of that when, and looking back, as I got older, looking back, I was like, I thought I was cool. Like weed made me feel cool and a part of that group, and it wasn't who I was. So it took being honest with myself at some point and be like, that's not who I am. This is who I want to be, and I'm gonna fucking do it. Simple as that. I don't care what anybody thinks, and changed my life and just never stopped, man. So there's a lot of like the stories in between there that shaped who I was until I landed and started being around good people and people that supported me and were willing to teach and willing to support me in just those positive ways instead of, 'cause I was a street merchant, we'll say, for quite some time. And when you do that for long enough, man, you don't feel like you can connect with anybody. They're just customers. They just want weed or whatever, right? I know a lot of you guys have been there. So I think that would be those milestones in my story. The introduction to this plant and things, and then the shift in who I was and who I was around, in the midst of just crazy stuff. Like some of the things that I've seen and been through are just insane, but it made me stronger and made me more equipped to be there for the people I care about. I think is a good way to say it. And also have fire jokes from a lot of this stuff, as you know. So I think my story is long, and I'll try to keep it on track, I guess. But yeah, starting with some just garbage oregano weed. And I'll tell you one quick story about that oregano weed, which is funny. I think I was in fourth grade. At the time I went to an art school. So like I had to audition. My mom, so my dad was sick, he had neurological disease, and my mom, family stuff was crazy. And my mom was like, you gotta play an instrument or sports. And I was like, fuck you, mom. That's my weed. But started playing cello. So I ended up, I was really good and made it into this art school, that's where I met one of my best friends who lives up by you, Gabby. I'm gonna come visit him and train you up in the lab there, get you built out and ready.
Right.
So I sold, this is like, I think it was fourth grade. So I sold this girl it was like a blunt's worth of weed. She's like, weed? And she ended up getting caught by her parents or something. Like it was found on the bus, and I got pulled out. The principal came and got me out of lunch. And I was like, oh shit. And what I did was hollowed out one of those Crayola markers and like stuffed it in there. So she walks me into the office and there was like 6 cops in there. I was like, what is going on? I was like, I don't know shit. My mom was in there crying. Like it was terrible. And they searched my locker. I had all my markers in my packs, dude. I was pretty slick back there. But they sent my mom a letter and they're like,
Did they
your
find
son
them
has
in there?
no. I took a marker from somewhere else, and I kept the whole pack because they're looking for the yellow marker. They found it. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, you're stressing me out. I need a few days off. But the crazy part, like, so I get this letter in. I get home, or they sent me home. They're like, I know this is traumatic. He's like, take the rest of the week off. I was like, fucking hell yeah, I should take the rest of the week off. And that's when they dropped the new Zelda on N64. So I played Zelda all week. It was awesome. But this letter comes in, and my mom is sitting there when I get home, and she's like, "What the hell, Jesse?" And the letter said, like, "Your son has been accused of smoking marijuana laced with crack cocaine." I was like, "Nice." I was like, fourth grade, dude. So I was like, "Yeah, that's probably why we'd be getting so high off this trash weed." But
There was
I was
crack
like,
in it.
there was crack in it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
First and only time I've smoked crack. But I don't know how
So you
much it was in there or
you
anything. But
purchased weed that was laced with crack.
no, this was the bag that said oregano on it that we stole from my
Oh,
friend's uh his sister's boyfriend. He's like,
they
you
were
know,
like
kids were
very.
like rummaging, like, who is this guy? Like, what the fuck? We're like, what is this? Just going through his stuff and be like, weed? Hell yeah. So yeah, he was. I mean, you gotta be careful out there, man.
It was
Some
laced with
crack
crack.
laced weed.
Grow your own, people.
Grow your own. It's not that hard. We'll show you everything we know. If you're not growing your own weed, we'll make it easy. It's so much better, just all around. And you
Say
don't
no.
accidentally smoke crack.
Say no to crack laced oregano.
Yeah, it tasted like it was awful, man. So after that, I think we told my friend's older brother and things. He was like, "All right, you guys got to be safe. So if you smoke weed, get it from us." What is that? Tasty treat
Uh,
there.
Earl Hill rosin. I'm
Ooh,
running really low, but
nice. That looks delicious, man.
I just
it is.
I
started
got
pressing bubble
these.
hash.
Don't get distracted. Keep with the
Oh
story.
yeah,
Don't get
sorry.
Ah,
distracted. I
dude,
just like to show
I
like,
almost
oh,
got off on a side quest, man. Damn,
you have a quest, a vision quest.
I'm all about side quests, dude. I know. Sorry, I dropped my. If you guys don't know what a theracane is the most. Whoever invented this, I salute you. For like your back or something, dude. It's amazing. It's kept me alive in here, mobile. So yeah, when the plug, we'll say, when we were younger, and they're all good people, man, and they showed us the game, so to speak. Because they brought this weed. I was like, that is not weed. That looks fake. Like it was just covered in hairs and crystals, and we were smoking. We thought weed would look like this bag of crack oregano. We're like, what is this stuff? And so I learned that day what good weed was. I was like, holy shit. At the time in Kentucky, I think eighths, like you buy an eighth of weed for like 40, $50. 50 if it was like the fire. I still kind of feel bad because we started bringing in the $60 eighths. I was like, damn, it was totally worth it though, because nobody could get stuff like that. But that
Oh
was
shit!
like,
In New York, it was going for more than that,
oh yeah,
and
dude.
even in
There's
San Francisco, back in the day, we were selling $50 Haiths. They were
hates.
yeah Haith, like because it was on Haight Street, and
Oh
it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah, yeah.
it wasn't an eighth, it was a Haith. It's just like what you would get for $50, and generally, you could get 10 or 11 Haiths out of an ounce, depending on how fluffy or dense the weed was.
Dude, can we bring lids back? I don't even know what a lids it are, but
I
I've
never,
heard
I never purchased the lid. That was like
like, can
before
you give me a
being,
lid?
yeah.
What is that? Is that like a? Dude, look at you
Well, they say
partaking
it's like
in
a four-finger lid,
four finger lid.
right?
That's how I'm gonna start selling shit in Colorado. Four finger lids,
Yeah,
or
they
get
won't know
out,
what the fuck it
get
is,
out of
but
here,
it
dude.
sounds.
That's a healthy booger for this time of day, man.
I know. I
You're
put
a
a little
wild
too much.
man.
I was like, "Fuck it."
You're a
I've
wild
been
man,
get,
Gabby.
I've been getting a little dabbed on the show. I'll admit it. I have this nice shit from Earl Hill. This
Man, I
is
wish I had some of my rosin left. We make some crazy good rosin. We did hash research at our research facility for 4 years, dude.
I just
Dialed
started
it
pressing
in.
my bubble, and that's been amazing.
Oh,
It's
Man,
like
we
it's
were
like shatter
breeding.
though. It
It
just
looks.
crumbles, you know. What it's
Man, I have a whole hash research program and testing and all kinds of stuff. See, the people want to know what lids are, dude. We got to figure this out. Um, I love good hash, man, and I'll post this later because it's so funny. I've been laughing to myself about it, but because I did all this hash research and we got the tech, and people will bring me bubble. I asked for bubble hash. I don't want rosin to screen and look at as far as breeding genetic stuff. And I've had so many people be like, "Bro, my cut drops. It dumps in the wash." I'm like, "Cool, man. Bring me some bubble hash. I don't want anything else. I want to look at it. Look at the heads. Look at this." And the majority of the time, dude, there's like thrips bodies and just all because you can do a float. That's what it's called. So you can, and if everybody wants to just look at their hash, you can just take scoop of bubble hash, put it on a microscope plate, few drops of water, and the heads will just kind of float up so you can get a really good look. You can measure, you can do all
Do you have
kinds of
videos of
stuff.
that?
Yeah. Dude, I have an entire database filled with all trichomorphology, and I developed like the jar test people use.
Right.
I developed a quantitative jar test that we got. So I was running triplicate samples of everything from the grow and comparing it to the actual wash, full batch washes. And I ended up dialing this in because I basically modified or programmed some molecular equipment for sample mills. It's just like all it does is shake, right? And at the end, I could basically predict to like plus or minus, I think it was point 0.2 what it's going to wash, like the actual wash. So the jar test is great. It's cheap, but there's a lot of things you can do to standardize and prevent errors. If a good tip is put a piece of tape down and just do the same motion along that piece of tape, and it'll prevent just ripping stalks off and all that stuff. There's a whole lot more to it and you can actually get it to be quantitative and get like predictive, essentially predictive analysis. Like this is gonna wash within this pretty tight range, if you dial it in. But yeah, maybe we could go do I'll do a screen share and go over that stuff. We're gonna teach people all that stuff anyway. So
Nice. I didn't know we were going to teach people about hash making as well as tissue culture, but that's
screening,
exciting.
genomics, breeding, technology, selection, pollen preservation. Dude, we're bringing the heat, Gabby. You already know this. I developed over the course of like a decade, I developed 147 different protocols with lots of very amazing people using the technology and everything. So
147 protocols on making hash.
not hash. I have a
Oh,
lot on hash, but
altogether
for
it's 147.
everything, yeah, for the entire program, right? We have a breeding program, we have software in the works, development, database. If you think like requirements for commercial TC, it's like we can do tissue culture. We're like, okay, how do you track and organize and monitor and get your team to successfully do that consistently? And then scale and make sure everything is protected. That goes into the software. You've given me input that I've designed in there. To where everything's transparent. Like if I hold your genetics, you can name it a number, whatever you want. And now we have portals that you'll be able to log into as a breeder or whatever and look at your entire collection, what phase it's in, how many copies. And if you choose to sell it, that's one thing we talked about a while back. It's pretty much done. Then you can look at live sales attached to your genetics. So everything's transparent.
Basically, what you're saying is the database tracks every single step that happens with the plant. So it all starts with the meristem, right? So you have that initial meristem dissection, and that plant will have a code, and that code will say that it is the Gaby Staten Island sour diesel. The initial meristem um, was done on this date, and then an identifier number. And then when that meristem grows and it gets divided, let's say you take that meristem and divide it into 10 plants. Each one of those 10 plants will be labeled and, you know, tracked through the software that, well, these 10 plants went through a dissection of multiplication on this date. And prior to that, the meristem was done on this date. And then you just keep
Yeah,
going every
you
single
the
step,
entire history of
right?
everything we do, and it's automated. I don't know if you see my dual monitors, dude. That legitimizes me, right? Look, I have two monitors here with things on it.
With
Let me see if
things
I can
on
get
it.
it. Yeah, look how legit I am. Um, you can't see it. I'll get like a screenshot. Well, you can kind of see it back there. But yeah, so you pull up your catalog and you can open, let's say, Staten Island Sour Diesel, and you look like the entire timeline, history, everything. So
Because you know what people should know is that when we do tissue culture from meristem on a plant, it's not as simple as, okay, we do the meristem dissection, it grows, we take it out and give it back to the customer. You know, what happens is it gets divided many times first, you know, and then you
if they
have to
want, it's like how many you want. I got it dialed in. I have a 1 to 50 multiplication rate. That means I can get one, let's say it's a test tube. I can get at least 50 new plants out of that. Some of them I can get 75 to 100.
wow.
Let me grab this vessel. Yeah, and that was so cannabis multiplication is the problem that a lot of people struggled with. Man, these are taking off, dude. But I'm testing out these long boys here because if you're taking these lateral, auxiliary shoots and things, they start just they don't get the same structure. You know what I mean? If you're able to grow them straight up and just rip them down, because they have established xylem and phloem, and that's what's directing. So you're pulling in nutrients, hormones, and they're directing them to the right places. If you take a little side piece that's underdeveloped, you can get some just weird, funky growth, and they'll still grow and you can still multiply. But if you get to a point where like you want to rely on X amount coming up, you establish the right structure to do that. And I can count, be like, these are all coming out at the same time. They're all going to have the exact same morphology and roots and everything. Instead of just chopping a bunch of pieces up. Here's one of these long boxes. They're pretty sweet. But this is from one tiny vessel. I probably got 50.
We can't
I
really
packed
see the
them too
plant.
tight. I packed them too tight in there.
I mean, we
But I
can
was
see
just
this
seeing how
plant
many
from
I
there, but
can
we
get.
can't see them.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing is find the most efficient way, most stable way for the genetics themselves, as far as hormones, and because you can do some crazy stuff with hormones that affects the DNA of the plant long term. I know somebody, I think Amanda brought up, stuff is getting, hermaphrodites and just it's not the same. Tissue culture can rapidly cause issues if you don't do it right. We're just pumping hormones and things. So focus on external pressures, light, temperature. Those external triggers can do a lot more in TC for this plant and keep hormone levels low. And we'll go over all that fun stuff. But yeah, man, I forgot what I was talking about, dude. We almost got on another side
Well,
quest.
yeah. I mean, I guess we should talk more about like you moved to Colorado and then, you know, how you were exposed to the more scientific stuff of growing plants like tissue culture and you did a lot more than just tissue culture. And like, you know, prior to
Yeah.
making Mothership Labs.
Okay. Yeah. So at the time I moved, just a bunch of crazy stories in there. Things were getting hot in the streets, right? I was doing a lot of merchant work, street merchant work. And there was like an incident outside my house that was going to compromise stuff. We'll leave it there. And I was like, man, I'm going to go to prison the rest of my life, or I'm going to die, or I don't feel good. I need to change. And so I've already been, I came out to Colorado a bunch of times, and one of my best friends I grew up with, the dude that we found that delicious oregano crack. I've known him since I was like 3 years old. We lived down the street from each other. He moved out here and changed his life and was doing great. At the time, he found out he had lung cancer. It's started treatment and everything. And real quick, we didn't touch on this another time, but he started using cannabis and oils. Went back to the hospital and is gone, completely gone. So those things in my life made me want to study more of the scientific side. Along with my dad, had neurological disease. There's research out pointing to cannabis, THC, CBD, all these things that can help or prevent, Alzheimer's or just amyloid plaque development, spindle fiber issues in the brain. So that was already kind of like looking towards science, and I love science growing up anyway. That was my other kind of passion, biology and stuff. I got that from my pops. He was one of the top equine researchers. That's why our family moved to Kentucky. So, but I had to learn how to grow and run and manage and do all the compliance stuff and everything. So I was like, well, I gotta learn this. So might as well move. I was going somewhere because I just couldn't keep up with it anymore. So the only way I could get an apartment in Colorado was if I had a job. My friend was managing a Domino's pizza, and I was like, fuck it. I packed all my shit in a car, came out here, and started delivering pizzas. Just
This
so I
is
could get a place, dude. That's
this
it.
is the part of your past that you're embarrassed to tell, right?
I'm proud as hell. I'm proud of that, man, because I did what I had to do. Simple as
Yeah.
that. I mean, there are days I make 20,000 in a day. Living which means nothing. Going to like getting a $2 tip in student housing, it was like, fuck. But it gave me the opportunity, man. I got out. I was safe. I had my dog Jelly Bean at the time. She came out there with me, and I was terrified. I was fucking dude. It was scary as hell. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was passionate. I was like, I'm doing this, and I would just talk to anybody I could. I was like, dude, I'll scrub your floor. Like, let me in. Let's go. And it got to the point where I was like, I couldn't get a job in the industry. So I was just like, man, who do I know out here that could at least help? Like, I'll trim. I don't care. It had to be done. So I called some of my friends. It was John and Andrew Thompson. Shout out to Andrew Thompson. It's my boys. They're from Kentucky, and they were working with Sam and Austin from Free World Genetics. I don't know if you heard those guys. I was about to like move. I was like, I'm just gonna go back to. It's like this is tough, And they're like, come on in. Like you can start as a trimmer, and I was the best motherfucking trimmer I could be, man. Show up early, bust some ass every day, discipline. What else you need, dude? I'll do anything. But I got the opportunity to learn from them, man. And those guys taught me a lot about not only weed, like at that point, I've been growing weed for a long time, big scale and everything. But they taught me how to treat people under those conditions, management and other value things that I just didn't have yet. They're good people. Along with other grow knowledge, they're willing to share and they're willing to give me that opportunity. So shout out to Free World. They're my homies. And they do some awesome work, man. So yeah, at that point, I was like, all right, I'm running the trim team now. Like, what's up? Pick it up, boys. You know, like I wasn't like that. I had fun, but I wanted to learn more. That's where I was hungry. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, what else you got? Let's do it. I finished all my shit already. Got 3 hours left. So I just started helping in the grow. And that's where I met, I think I mentioned it before we went live, KP the legend, Kelly Parks. Shout out, my friend. We hit it off and became a good friend of mine too. And he was the guy that went to them, be like, yo, Jesse knows what he's doing in the grow. We're like, let's get him in. And I was like, same thing, just hustling every day to learn and just keep going, be a part of the team. But I learned a lot, man, as far as like the biggest ones, like different grow techniques but the compliance is in Colorado at the time is like you get a knock on the door every week. They're like, we're changing this or you're shut down. I'm like, fuck, it's crazy. They just didn't have it together yet, right? But I showed up, I did whatever it took, and I supported the team, and I learned a lot about how to, run. As far as running a grow, I could do that, but running a legal grow under the compliant, all the regulations and scheduling and things, right? So it was another huge part of my life, man, and I made a lot of friendships there. Smoking quality hash. It does look good. Ah, dude, just keep me in line, dude. You got it. You're getting the real Jesse today, man. It's the professional science Jesse.
I'm personally loving it. We got 150 people watching live, so thank you.
I
to
love
everyone
it.
watching
I
live.
love it, man.
What's up, everybody? I saw somebody here was like Western Kentucky or something. I've been out there too. It's hell yeah. It's
I do
great,
want to
man.
make sure that we have time to answer everybody's questions, but I still feel like there's a little bit of your story that you got to tell about, how
You
you
can try to juice me for my.
well, no,
All
like how
right.
you made it to the mothership labs, like how,
Let me skip over this section, right? So I grew tons of weed, learned a lot, genetics, but those guys got me more into breeding and everything. That's what they're doing. So we helped, me and KP the legend, we helped open up the first breeding facility in Colorado. It was one of them. That's all we were doing at Colorado Seed Inc. Back in the day. So my brain is on fire constantly anyway, but I would go home and study and read and call people and everything I could find. And what I found was that not a lot of people were willing to share information at all. It was in the era of master growers, and like they won't tell you anything just for job security or whatever it is. But I was like, why won't anybody talk to me about this stuff or teach me? I was just hungry. So we did that for a while, and Sam and Austin taught me a lot of stuff. It was great. And when the market started, like things started getting weird in the market, like prices started going down. Everybody was like, I'm worth 2 million a year. Not the case, but it was in that era where things were just getting weird. And I left, and basically it was crazy. My friend at the time was working for a biotech company, and he was like, man, they got an opening. You should put in an application. I was like, I'm not qualified. It was like 4 years in molecular breeding experience and lab management. I was like, there's no way in hell. But I did. So I sent an application in, and I went back to Kentucky. I was in Lexington drinking beers. So it was like, taking a vacation, right? We were at Country Boys. If everybody been back there at Country Boys. I was drinking some cougar bait for a couple hours, talking about DNA to strangers. I was like, well, you see, because I love it, man. I was just, talking about breeding and all this stuff. And then I started talking about the company I put the application in for. This woman comes by. She's like, "Steve, I'm the regional director of this place." I was like, "I didn't know in hell. It's crazy." and sat down, talked to her for a while, called me up to come in. I was like, what the hell? So when I came in, the main boss, I'll say the main boss, this I mean, extremely, he's just a bad motherfucker. You know, came from UC Davis. He went in tons of other countries. He's running the entire program there. So he sat me down, which is cold eyes, dude, questioning me. And I just knocked it out of the park and started the next week. But I had to pass a drug test. So that's the first time I was like, I can't smoke weed. And I didn't, man. I still got pictures of me, the piss test. I was like, I told you, Mo. And
You just had to take one.
yeah, I took one, man. I could have faked it, but I was like, it was more from me. I was like, I'm doing this. And similar like delivering pizzas, man. It's those things are for me and be like, I'm doing it. Show myself I could do it, you know?
You know something? When I was 17, I was delivering pizza in New York City, and you could make more money delivering pizza than you could selling weed. You know,
What? Oh,
and then
well,
and then
New York
and then,
has probably
and then if you
a
did
better
both,
pie. They
but then
got a better pie, you know?
if you did both, then it was
Oh,
really
that's
good.
the key. Your
Yeah,
people order pizza with their weed. That's the way to go, man. For
yeah.
sure. But you got a better product. You're selling a better product out there. Colorado's not known for their pizza. There's some good spots out here, deep in the cut, but
If it gets too high, the dough don't rise the same.
it's just don't rise the same, man. So I just when I got the job, and they started me off in BFB, so bacteria fruit blotch department. We were testing for Psittacorax situli, which is like a vicious cucurbit infection. It basically melons. It turns the inside into mush, right? So that's where I got a crazy amount of experience running PCR, Cox postulate, reinfecting plants and verifying and learning from extremely experienced people, teams of PhDs, and having those resources in front of me. So what I did was I just started showing up 7 days a week and going home and studying and then writing and structuring things for me and really learning how I learn, which that will change your life by itself. Like I learn a little differently, but if you figure out how you learn and you have people that can support that and will share and guide you, you can do anything, man. That's what I've learned. Simple as that. And that's what we hope to share with everybody else. And be like, hell yeah, you can do it. I will show you how to do it. All you got to do is put in the effort, show up, just keep going. Fuck shit up, kill plants. You will get it. I promise. Cucurbits. There you go. I had such a cheesy cucurbit joke.
Amanda is showing her knowledge when she can spell that word, right?
I know. I was like, wait a second. Do I know you, Amanda?
Do you?
The cucurbit world is very small, dude. I'm sure. I was joking. But yeah, so I got exposed to plants and how biotechnology and all this stuff works with everything else except weed. And that's what I needed. You know, if you don't grow other plants, start doing it. Even if they die, you learn a tremendous amount. So my job at the time was running and working at 6 research greenhouses, planting the seed and pulling samples and then running PCR and testing for this stuff. Because so in order to sell seed for agricultural crops, right, you have to get them certified. That helps prevent issues with the farmers. You know, you get bad seed and they lose crops. The government's subsidizing that, and it doesn't work, right? Or you start spreading pathogens everywhere, and we're talking people's food supplies, and so a lot of this stuff we were we were doing for like Monsanto and Bayer and all these things. Louis Armstrong, I got you. We'll cover all that, man. I've developed some tech for pheno hunting and stuff like that. It's crazy, which we will also share and teach people because the people must know, dude, what we've been doing. So working in the greenhouse, and then I started same thing when I started trimming, man. Um, oh, the seed company, just the Turtle Tank 2027. I feel like I'm getting used to I can run my own podcast now, dude.
Soon, soon come.
Soon. You just let me sneak in. It's like today we're doing Jesse's Corner or
Well,
doing a
it's
little corner
the
on there.
Craft Growers Network. We have a lot of different shows on. I want to
Yeah,
get Sasha to start interviewing more people in Europe. You know,
Sasha, we got to catch
Germany.
up, man. I got stuff lined
Yeah,
up for you out there, brother. Like I'm
there
serious.
is so
Yeah,
much. There is a big tsunami coming. I have a feeling for that. It's like it's coming. Like,
yep.
uh, and everything you told now is like so interesting. From you've been born for this, man. It's like,
I appreciate it, man.
cause
I would have gotten in
yeah, yeah,
trouble.
you've been
I would
born.
have just been in trouble if I did anything else. I think.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a big pleasure to have you on the network today. And your wisdom comes from experience, and that is the point. It's
Yeah,
just
man.
experience, and you're so very open-minded guy. I think that you will share stuff like that. Because this is real deep, and like you told,
Mm.
there was an era where people considered themselves as masters and something, and they didn't want to share it. But that's the problem,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
we cannot evolve as a race of humans, on planet Earth if we don't share shit together. I know there is some
That's it.
other stuff you don't share, but this stuff you share because this is something that benefits us all.
That's it, man. And that, everyone Gabby's introduced me to includes all you guys. I mean, it's like, call me anytime, man, because yeah, you're good people and you share the same values and vision. And if I don't say like I'm happy to teach, is like I would love to exchange knowledge with you guys because I don't know shit, man. I know more than I did yesterday, and
Well,
I want to
you
keep
know what?
learning, and that's it.
One thing I'll say about that is you can learn things from people that don't know as much
Yeah.
than you do. It doesn't mean that they don't know something different, right?
And
And
perspective is valuable,
yeah, exactly. Like their perspective is more wide open because they don't have the knowledge, right? And then they come into this situation and like so I feel like you can learn from everyone that you work with, even people that may not have as much experience with the subject, the plant, but
Yeah.
yeah, you can still learn from people. So
And man, people love to share that, man. Like I love to share my knowledge because I learn more teaching people than I do just anything else. And you make good connections and that's what I did at the biotech company, right? Put in the effort and start asking questions because I know I was learning all this shit for weed. I was like, I'm gonna learn as much as I can for marijuana. So I'd show up, and I was so lucky to be around some of these people that had just tremendous experience, man. And my first stop was the DNA lab. So I just show up, I start filling tips, even if I clocked out, and just be like, "Tell me about DNA. Tell me a story about DNA." And you find when you show not only show interest, but you follow up. Be like, I went home and read about what you told me yesterday. Crazy as hell. What about this? Then it starts building that relationship, and they are excited to share that with you. A lot of these people, they go to school for years, like PhDs, for instance, go to school for years, and they're so good at the fine, like one thing that they know so much about, I would think it'd be lonely if like nobody asked me about it. Like I know so much about this, like nobody cares or asks me about it. But you find like you start asking and you are truly interested and you're truly engaged, not just asking them questions, but you come back and be like, dude, that was awesome. Thank you so much. What about this? Have you thought about that? Their faces light up, man. And you end up learning a ton. And they do too. And they're excited because a lot of the people I've talked to, they're like, I use about 10% of what I learned in PhD camp, I call it. And I guess it depends on the job. If you're doing research and things like that, it's a whole other story. But if you're running like an analytical lab or things, like I picture people going to get educated and be like, I am passionate, like I love this, I want to do the rest of my life. And then they get a job to where they're just running the same samples every day. So people, if you engage and you just talk and you're excited about it, you would be so surprised about what you learn and the relationships that evolve out of that. And that's what I did. I just started helping in the lab, filling pipette tips and things, asking questions. And then I started learning how to run the equipment, and they started me on capillary electrophoresis, which is awesome.
Which
And
probably only Amanda knows what that is.
I just made that. I just made that up. No, capillary electrophoresis is. I think that's where they started sequencing the human genome on. Pretty sure I have to check on that, but yeah, it's just a method of sequencing, right? You have to essentially denature the DNA targets, and you're running them through these tiny little, basically tubes, right, through laser devices. But and that's another good way to learn. Like, what does this piece of equipment do? That looks crazy. If you know it exists, and you start learning the capabilities that humans have put together and discovered, you're like, we can do that shit. That is crazy. And then your ideas and your path starts shifting, right? If you know it's possible, then we can do it, man. So that's what I did. I hustled. I learned as much as I could, and I supported the people around me that were willing to share with me. Still doing the greenhouse stuff. And then I ended up like solving the whole like management team had some DNA issues in the cryo storage and stuff. And I just figured it out. I was like, hey, I fixed it. And everyone was like, what the hell? And I just got more time in the DNA lab. And until the lab director asked me to start working there full time, man. And that's what I did. So I got to do high volume DNA extraction, robotics. I mean, I was processing just thousands of DNA samples a week, like tons and tons, and then running them and analyzing and producing reports. And then I had the research. He was actually doing the real R&D. He started pulling me into projects, and I was just bugging him like, what does that do? Tell me what this means. And did the same thing. So then I got to do, we're doing 16S ribosomal sequencing, bacteria studies, viruses. We did, so I got to learn all that. And I was like, holy shit, this is going to wait till the boys back at the farm hear about this. Because in my head, I was designing for my next project. I was like, I need some of that. I need a little bit of this. I need that piece of equipment. And learning why we use it and how and where that place is for cannabis. And it was crazy. Like I learned so much, and I met so many really good people that some of us since moved on to do some amazing things, like the glow in the dark plants. Have you guys seen those?
Yeah.
It's my boy. Yeah, so genetically modified. I think it was one of the first publicly available genetically modified plants. It glows in the dark. So they modified the mushrooms that glow in the dark, right? Bioluminescence into a pansy, They are crazy. I didn't know what to expect. I got one of the first ones released. I brought it in my bathroom, and this plant, the flowers just glow. They don't. It's not like you charge one of those bracelets up in the sun and then it dies off. They modified the proteins and the enzymes, so it just glows. It is wild. So just being able to learn from those people, I'm forever grateful for. And grateful for the people that was like, dude, just don't stop. I'm like, I'm so tired, but it just keep going. So at the time, the company that I used to work for, I think somebody asked a question like, what happened to the old CSI? Well, really, it was taken over by there's like ownership things and just the businesses in Colorado, right? They were starting to get weird. So I think he put some dude in charge that I was there for the tail end of it. It was like GH3 part, no drainage, salt buildup. It was like, why are the plants dying? I was like, all right, I'm out. It's time to go. But what they did was sold it. So while I was in the biotech company, I used to get a call because at that point I was like running the whole lab. I was an associate scientist for the DNA department. It was a massive operation. It was crazy. And I get a call and it was like, hey man, I heard what you're doing. And it was from the old management team at that company. It's like, we sold the company and we want to do science. I was like, what kind of science? They were awesome people, man. So the company was bought by I won't say their names, but they're like huge Bitcoin couple. And yeah, we wanted to do research. And at the time there wasn't, there was groups doing research that didn't have a grow or access to genetics or seeds or anything. I had the opportunity to use everything I knew, build the team. They gave me ownership. And I was like, because this lab was about to pay for me to go finish school and stuff too. I was like, I'm out. Like, I didn't want to. I was like, I want to do this. So I took the job, and they're amazing people. They bought the company, and they're like, we were going to shut this down, but let's just do this. Like, let's do research and do something good for humanity or like whatever it is. I was like, we have to do molecular. We have to do tissue culture. That is what will change the plant and the world, and understanding those components. We have to preserve genetics. Like, let's say we did discover medicine or something like that. It is the luciferase, I believe. Yep. And through CRISPR or prime editing, I believe. Squishy mirror. Does that sound natural? Answering.
You sound natural, but I have no idea what the question is.
She asked us, or they asked us luciferase. So that's a gene that's identified as some of the bioluminescent stuff that's actually glowing, things like that, I believe. But so, yeah, it was, again, a terrifying situation. I was like, holy shit, like, what am I doing? And I called a lot of my good friends, because even at that time, like, scientists, high-level scientists wouldn't work in the industry. They're like, that would ruin my career forever. I'll get blackballed from the, because it was marijuana, right? And I was like, cam tracking? Okay. So I found somebody that could help run and set up and build, even getting equipment in, let me turn this tracking off here. Even getting equipment as a cannabis company was so difficult. I had to go through 10 different companies and found a wholesaler because Thermo Scientific wouldn't touch it. They're like, it's cannabis, we can't do it. We can't. So even that was a pain in the ass. But I had a grow license. We have 14 grow rooms. We built out high-tech tissue culture lab. We had GCMS, HPLC, qPCR, We have everything. We built an R&D team, and we started popping seed. And we were implementing all these things that we could use as far as direction and making that effective for cannabis, right? Which you end up running into so many things, just compliance issues, or it's like we want to plant 10,000 seeds. Like, we can't do it. Like, we don't have the room, we don't have, and then, so it's very difficult. And I think that led into creating the database and tracking and the breeding program I have now, because it had to be a hybrid system. Gabby, did you leave me? Did Gabby
No,
disappear? Oh, there you are, dude.
yeah, I just shut it off for a second because I walked away, but I'm listening.
You're smoking marijuana over there, aren't you?
Oh no, that I'll just do on camera. I was just making some toast.
Oh, nice, dude. That's fucking quality. I love a good toast. Yeah, we're doing embryo rescue. We can do all that stuff. So we'll hook people up coming soon. So yeah, another terrifying moment. Now I have the weight of science responsibility and employees and everything. But at that time, I did, I'm certified in Lean 5S, Lean Six Sigma, efficiency, design for laboratories and for operations. And, I did a lot of that stuff, and knew how to grow weed. So I got some awesome people here on the team, and spent a ton of money, got the equipment, set it up, started popping seed. And it was in the same facility that I started trimming in, which was crazy.
Can I interrupt you real fast?
Yeah.
That's cool. Man.
So we had somebody comment that they're old and this is above them, and I want to just
So
say
my bad. Yeah, you gotta slow me down sometimes.
no. I actually want you to say I want you to say what you gotta say, and like
Yeah.
we have at least one person here that's hearing it, that's understanding it, right? But
I'm so lonely, man.
yeah. What I want to say is, like, we're getting pretty technical right now, but tissue culture can be really simple as well.
Be
And
so easy.
and so like the whole idea is, right now we're letting Jesse loose and letting him, tell his story, but we don't want you to think like that this isn't something that most of you could do quite easily, and we'll talk about that. So just hang on for a little bit and let Jesse geek out.
You gotta wrangle me in sometimes, dude.
No,
I get
no,
excited.
I don't even want to do that.
I'd also say that part of the learning experience is being exposed to terms that you're not, typically familiar with. The more that you hear them, the more that you hear them used in context of sentences, it's going to start kind of clicking in slowly. So, I mean, I wouldn't even say that it's a bad thing that you're
Thank you,
using things.
Cosmic.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that, well, really a good way to learn too is if you hear a word that you don't know what it is, write down. I have pages and pages of words. Like being around, high level science, I was like, I have no idea what that is, but I'm gonna look it up. Like, just start writing them down. I learned a ton doing that. Just you introduce yourself to concepts and pieces of equipment that do things. It's a really good way, even if it's just perspective. You're like, damn, I didn't know that exists, or we could do that. Just write down words that you don't know what they mean. I still do that. Like, it's a great way to do it. But yeah, Gabby's got to wrangle me in sometimes, so I get excited.
Well, my job is also just to make sure that we can keep it where the layman can understand and be excited about it. If we,
For sure.
like, I think there's a place for both. I think we want to get technical so that people like Amanda, they can, communicate with us, and maybe we can learn from her as well, right?
I keep waiting for you to read that whole username out loud.
Amanda's username?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Amanda's their name, but
Oh, whatever. And for my purposes, we're calling her they, Amanda. So, yeah, but tissue culture can be so easy too. You know, it really
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
that's one of the things that we're gonna do to make it easier. So, for instance, you know, making the media, it's not that hard. But for some people, when they're just learning and trying to get excited about it, we can just send them some media. You know, we're gonna have a media kit.
Yeah.
We can, you know, and so
Yep.
if all you have to do is the sanitization, and then stick a nodal cutting in there, and then just wait, see what happens. That's an easy way to get people excited about tissue culture, and that's why we're going to
Yep.
do it, because once you get more into tissue culture, you're not going to want to buy media that's pre-made, right?
No,
You know, you're
no,
going to
dude.
want to,
Way different. Way
even though I
different.
just
Oh, you
asked you,
got media on the way, man. I
I was
sent
going
you
to
a
say,
bunch of
even though
stuff.
I just asked you to send me some media, but you know, it's just
Yeah.
when you're doing a lot of it, it just makes sense to just make it yourself, and it's really easy. And you know, we're going to provide you
Yep.
the ingredients. But for somebody new that's just wanting to learn the first things about tissue culture, we're going to make a kit, and it's going to have the agar already sterile in a jar for you, and we'll give you the tools that you need, you know, the basic tools, even if you're using just a like a clean air box or a still air box, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
like
Yep.
um you know, people think, you know, tissue culture, this is going to be expensive, but actually it's super inexpensive. You know, when you get into it, you're going to want to buy a flow hood, right? But think about it. It's the same thing like if you get into growing, you're going to want to buy a grow light, you know, and it's going to cost a little something. And
Yep.
my flow hood,
That's it.
I have a perfectly great flow hood for most people to learn how to do tissue culture, and I got it for $100 on Facebook Marketplace. So often, like
Dude,
there's
you
people
don't
that have
need
been growing.
much, man. So we got these are what I sent you too. All I'm waiting on is get some. I'm testing these bottles out, A and B, and then we have this is really it. Sugar, agar, your A and B, vitamins, and hormones. So it doesn't take much. And, you know, I see a lot of other stuff available you can get, but we spent a long time developing this formula and testing and balancing. And I've run, I think at this point, probably 1,000 different genetics through this. It's not just the formula, it's all of these tools. Just like in a grow, it's not just the nutrients you use, right? It's environmentals, it's how you're pruning, it's all of that. So I want people to keep that in mind. I've tested this formula against everything. It's universal. I've had every single plant just crush using this stuff. So yeah, we're gonna release that into the wild and help people use it. That's the other piece. So we'll have a platform. Oh, this is Mr. Nick Wolf. How you doing?
Yo, what's up, guys? I just had to pop in to say what's up.
Well,
Good to see
Yes,
you.
brother.
My
I want to show
FOMO
you
was
this.
acting up, and I had to be like, oh, my buddies are here. I have to come say hi.
I'm glad you came in. I'm in phase 6 of this bad boy, dude. Randy Johnson, 2001, aka the Big
Nice.
Unit. I think I told you a while back. I was like, I'm committing to this, dude. So I'm glad you. It's good
Dude,
to see you, brother.
I fucking got a little length to my hair too. I'm growing it out. We'll see where it gets to.
It's respect, dude. It's respect. I'm already getting into the mustache tech. I call her my hair chef. I was like, do whatever you want. She's like, she's just going crazy. She's like, carve shit in the side. I'm like, whatever. I don't care.
Nice.
But
well,
yeah,
I'm
great to
stoked that
see
you
you,
got to
dude.
join us, and since you're here, let me thank you again for helping me get all this started, and for all the great content that you made on your weed stories, not your weed stories, the way we grow.
Hey, I want to bring it back. I was gonna pop in to, let all the viewers know. I want to get back into it. I've been busy as hell. I don't know if anybody's been seeing my Instagram, but we do 2 acres of outdoor a year up at the farm that I manage. On top of running all the rooms throughout the year, the veg program, the stock plant program, and now we're also setting up like a 200 to 300 square foot tissue culture lab. So
Nice.
we have all that in the works right now, and it's just been a grind. So I apologize to the viewers for not keeping up with the way we grow, but it's gonna come back, and it might be more some solo videos with me doing some lives like Gabby's been doing, but just talking through a lot of the process and programs that I implement so that people can improve their growing skills.
Amazing, man. Nick, we're moving into the lab. We're gonna
Brother,
finish
that's
some
amazing.
paint touch up. So if I can help in any way with what you're doing, man, give me a shout. We're gonna run experiments even for the people. If they're like, what is this? Like, let's set up experimental design and just real try, like whatever. We're gonna do all
I'm
that
gonna need
stuff.
some
So
help. I'm gonna need some help. I got, I think, 175 cultivars in house that we need to get into tissue culture in the next 6 months. So I have a grind ahead of me as well with that. But we'll do some
oh
live streams of
yeah.
that process as well. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. If you need help, give me a shout, dude. I've gotten very fast at meristem excision. Actually, I challenge any scientist in the world to a meristem off, dude. Let's go.
Dude, that sounds like a good contest to have. We should. The prize would have to be just pride in the work, right?
Yeah. Well, we can learn from it, man. Technique, different methods, why all the whys that maybe help people understand it at a better level, man.
How
For
So
fast
sure.
would you
whatever you
say
need,
you're at?
dude, give me a shot. What's that?
How fast would you say that your Mary stem extraction is?
Dude, I did so
You
many
said 30
recently.
seconds last time you talked to me, right?
Oh, I can rip one off in 30 seconds. I could fill two plates with probably 20 in each plate. I could probably do that in like 10 minutes, 15
Beast
minutes
mode.
if I'm hustling.
That's gnarly.
Dude, it's the techniques and the tools and obviously you want accuracy over everything. So we've figured out a way to achieve that, just be really precise. Speed is irrelevant. If you start off with the right technique and practice, even if it feels weird or different than what so and so's doing, if you'll start getting faster and faster and more accurate, and then you can do this. Or you are crazy like me and just spend 12 hours a day doing it until you can be right.
Yep,
But yeah, dude, I'm happy to do all that. We can do live stream stuff with everybody. Like, I want to show people everything so they can be successful.
for
But those
sure.
are the things we work through. Like, we got final stuff, trials, and everything for formulas. We make everything from scratch, vitamins, formulas, and then even down to how you're pouring your vessels, different techniques. But the methodology and the technique stuff makes a massive difference especially if you're looking at HLVD stuff, getting rid of viruses, and it makes a huge difference. Practice slow and precise, the speed will come, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Just put it
Well,
in, dude. You
before I
got
have to get going, I'll just pop into one of my flower rooms to show y'all what we got going right now. But
fuck
sorry for any
yeah.
noise that comes up. But we are about day 11 or 12 in here right now.
Can you try turning your phone sideways?
Let me see if I can. It's not giving me the option to.
You
I can
can't
go
just
like
turn it?
this. There we go.
Oh, that didn't work.
Coming on up.
Is it back now? I don't.
It
I
didn't
can
do
only see it
anything.
on my side. But yeah, doing good right now, guys, and I appreciate y'all. Craft Growers Network is stronger than ever, and I got to get back to it though. But love y'all and
man,
stay up, guys.
congrats on 1 year, man. Thank you for your contributions to this, man. You guys are awesome, and we appreciate everything, man.
Cheers. Well,
Keep on
Cosmic,
crushing, brother.
Sasha, Gabby, Jesse, all y'all,
Keep on
love y'all,
crushing.
and I'll talk to you soon.
You too, dude.
Bye, buddy.
Mwah.
Later.
Yes. Oh, I got the Durbans. I see a lot of people talking about Durbans here. We got the Durbans.
Hey, so
Um,
we've been doing this for an hour and 35 minutes, and I think we're going to have to do another show about stories. I do want to get to, like, simply putting it, what some of the benefits are of putting plants in tissue culture, because earlier somebody's question was, well, what happened to growing plants from seed? And we still do that, right? We're still growing seed.
oh
We're still
yeah.
making seed. We're not saying that tissue culture is a replacement for doing seeds, but actually it is. It's a process to preserve the seeds, to preserve the genetics that you're growing. And when you plant the seed, if you immediately put, a piece of that into tissue culture, now you know that you have that genetic saved. And so, for instance, let's say you're doing a pheno hunt of 50 or 100, or even 10. By putting these plants immediately into tissue culture, then after you grow them out, you have an easy way to multiply them, and always have clean stock. So that is just priceless. And
That's it. Yeah,
any
there's
grower,
a lot of ways to you. If you look at plant tissue culture as a tool, you can use this tool for all kinds of stuff. It's not like I use tissue culture to preserve these genetics that have been selected, right? The clone only stuff, I have probably closer to 200 on my shelf right here that I did that I know are clean. They don't have viruses, and I can pull from that stock whenever I want to grow it or breed with it, right? So that allows me to only pop seeds and continue making plants better and seeing new phenotypes and doing that. Otherwise, you have a huge mother room that's expensive, and you got to water them all the time. You got to, you got lights, you got exposure to pathogens, so you can get, who knows, if you're selling genetics or you're breeding, a lot of that stuff passes through. So even as for breeding, I want them to be clean before I even make a cross, unless it's straight from seed, right? But that, it gives you the ability. Let's say you're a commercial operator, you could have 500,000 genetics in stock that you don't have to water or touch or deal with, and pull them out seasonally or whatever the market wants. You can just pull that off the shelf, put it into production, and it gives you that flexibility. The difference in our program and what we worked on, because I've heard some people say like running a TC lab is like way more work than a mother room. It's like, it absolutely can be, but we designed it so I don't really have to touch them I can leave them in there for like 3-4 months, maybe 5 months without needing new media. That's the formulations and
I mean,
all these other
you,
things.
you can have a very simple flowering garden, right?
Mhm.
Let's say you have a tent and you have 4 plants and you have them on some type of automated watering system. And, it's like you can make it so that you don't have a lot of care, or you can have 100 light grow room and, you know, lots of work that needs to get done in there. So when you do tissue culture, it's the same thing. Like you, I have this tiny little light. Okay, it's like it goes under a 10 by 20 tray. Okay, it's an 18-inch light, and under that 18-inch light, you can do tissue culture, or you could have a lab like we're building out at the Mothership Labs, which is going to be quite
It's really
extensive,
awesome, man.
and that's going to be a lot of work. And
That's the
and
first lab.
maybe you're going to do one meristem extraction, and then just multiply off of that, or like the Mothership Labs, Jesse, he gets given, I don't know if we're allowed to mention people's names, so I won't, but like somebody gave you their entire, a big breeder gave you their entire collection, of over 150 genetics, and you had to put them all in meristem, as quickly as you
Good.
could. Yeah, that's gonna be
No,
work, right?
nobody
That's
knows
gonna be
about
work.
it because he doesn't want to. That's what we do, man.
But
But yeah. So you can store tons, and that's really another reason we started this. Other than just being sick of bad business and people, and like it got just terrible here. But if you look at what breeders are doing, at least the ones I know and talk to, which I know a lot, they have to have a brand and hustle and grow weed and sell it and deal with all this shit just so they can breed, right? So if you look at it in that respect, it gives them the ability to do what they're passionate and good at without having to maintain all this stuff that's really expensive. So it's a huge advantage to where, and we developed that, like I can breed in vitro. We can do anything. And there's another product Gabby and I talked about a while back that we're going to be testing first thing. I could select, I can pop seeds in, let's say the size of, I don't know, like a 4-foot wire rack. I can pop probably maybe 500 seeds in there, not touch them. And I'm not talking fully in vitro. This is new stuff we've been working on. And I could select, get full representation, samples for testing or smoking or whatever in like rapidly without having to grow full plants. And then you cull that in. So think about a 300, 200-foot space. I could plant and screen that first round of seed. I could plant 20,000 if I wanted to without having a massive facility and staff and all this
so just to be
stuff.
clear, you're talking about flowering a plant in a jar, right? You showed me some pictures of that, right? That's what you're
No,
talking about, or no?
this is some new
Is that
shit,
what you were
man.
talking
I'll
about,
tell
or
you
no?
later. Well, yeah, I can flower plants in vitro, absolutely. But you get a little bit of, you want the full response with environment, with the
So what do
other
you?
stress points as well. That because we actually finished up some of the ones we just selected are crazy. But what we were able to cull a bunch out, and while we were testing the system, we saw some that like popped some bananas or some. You can see that in 5 days instead of the end of this flower cycle when you're like, shit, you already spent the money and time and labor, right? So think about the advantage for that for breeders or even home growers that want to start breeding and doing stuff. Get a shelf, and when we release this product, dude, it is game changing. And I'm working on scaling that up as well. And we're talking full term. You can go full term flower. It doesn't make sense yet, but it will. It's crazy. So if you just picture the technology by itself as a tool, right? Then you can do all kinds of stuff, man.
I
But
want to respond
working,
to something that somebody said. Somebody said, "Be careful who you give your genetics to," right? And
absolutely,
I think this is super
absolutely.
important. I think this is a
Yep.
super important topic to address. Um, Number one, at Mothership Labs, we aren't trying to acquire people's genetics. We don't need it, right? We have
I don't
plenty of
need any more genetics.
we have plenty of genetics, right?
I don't need more
And
sour diesels, please. I have so many.
I can relate to that.
I
Um,
know.
and
I
I've
know.
contributed to your collection. Um, you know, so the first thing is when you give a lab genetics, you should never put the name on it, right? Unless like you're doing it in a collaboration agreement where they're going to be selling the genetics for you, right? But number
Yeah.
one, don't put the name on it, okay? But number two, what we're trying to do is create a long lasting relationship with customers and potential customers, right? So if as a lab we just went and started ripping people off and taking their genetics, that's a short term plan, you
And
know?
it's been
And
done. It's already been done too,
right,
plenty
I
of
was gonna
times.
say
Yeah.
other people have done that, you know, they've,
Yeah.
you know, taken people's genetics and, you know, and I think what it comes down to is you have to decide, well, first of all, we're trying to tell people, look, you can do this yourself. You know, we're trying to teach you how to do tissue culture, you know, and we're telling
Mhm.
you it's easy. You know, you have other people making you think like this is super hard. You can't do this. You need to pay us $3,000, you know, to, you know, do a meristem extraction for you. You know, we're trying to tell people, hey, look, this is super easy. You can do it. Okay. But if you want us to do
Yep.
it, I think what you got to decide is, do you feel like you can trust us? You know, and we're trying to make our business based on, you know, building a good reputation. And you know what? If you're not comfortable giving us your genetics today, well, wait and see in a year or two. You know, when a bunch
I
of
don't
other
want them.
people,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't want them.
well, in a year or two, there's going to be a bunch more people saying, yeah, we've given all of our genetics to Mothership Labs, and we're happy with what's happened. You know, so you
And we
know,
built on that same note, Gabby, we built in systems just as far as design for to prevent that kind of stuff. Even if one of my employees like, I'm gonna steal that sour, they can't. They're not labeled. They're labeled with specific automatically
barcodes.
generated codes and like you know, and the safe room for all the genetic storage, dude, it is locked in. I got chicken wire in the walls and like we get retina scanners. But no, that's a huge piece because we didn't. I do a lot more than just tissue culture, but I saw that there's a massive problem with like when I came out of that research, I was like, what are these companies doing, dude? They are one like ripping people off, stealing their genetics, renaming them. And I get offers all the time. They're like, "Hey, man, we'll give you a royalty system if we just give us some of your best stuff, and we'll rename it." And I'm like, "Hell no, dude." I grew up in, coming from Kentucky, and some of these guys probably know too. You steal somebody's genetics, and those are like legacy, family, generational things. You just disappear. Simple as that, man. That's how I grew up, you know. But if you want to share genetics, and this is I think we started out discussing these things like how we were talking about the hows. How do we prevent this? How do we give everyone we work with this transparency, right? And then we built it in. So if you are worried about it, you give me a key code number, doesn't matter. That's what goes in your database, and you have access to your database. If you want us to sell it, you can click a button and it automatically adds it to our for sale list. Otherwise, nobody sees it except for me. And we can help sell breeders' genetics. We can store them. And if you want, because we have the affiliate lab in Florida, which is Lab Roots, we're about to come drop some announcement. I had a coffee cup, but Lab Roots, they're amazing people that want to do the same thing, but it's much higher volume. So I will be giving them like the mothership lab is like the vault. Nobody gets access unless they do. I don't even see it. My transfer lists and everything, they can just filter that out. But if we want to release it into the wild, we can set up. If you made it, if you bred it, we can get it to the nursery, and we'll be able to produce, I think, around 9 million plants a year globally with royalties for these breeders if they want to do it. So but the first stop is us. We get everything into the system and work with the breeder or the, whoever we're doing, and make sure everything's done properly from the beginning. I trust our lab roots partners. They're amazing, but you're talking high volume, right? So then everybody's going to get that cut at some point, you know?
This
So
isn't a
it's
cut
all,
that you're looking to hold. This is a look.
yeah,
This is
it's
a
like,
cut that you're looking to get out to the world and get a commission of sales.
yeah. So that can help fund more breeding and better breeding, and you don't have to hold on to those. Also have a copy. You can be like, hey, can I get that cut back? Be like, you got it. Come right up.
I mean,
So
I think one thing to say is you mentioned it before that you can do a lot of different things with tissue culture. Okay. And
yep.
what we want is for you to tell us, what do you want? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to do like remediation of HLVD and then you want to get your genetics back and that's all you want? Great. We can do that. Do you want to do long-term storage? Do you want us to do that? Do you want to create synthetic seeds so that they can be shipped around the world? Or do you want to be part of our nursery program where, we sell your genetics to the world? Like, all those are options, for people,
Yeah.
And so it's not, I don't want people to think like, oh, well, if I do business with Mothership Labs, they're going to give my genetics to, this other nursery and it's going to go worldwide. And I really want to keep this strain for myself. This is something,
Yep.
it's important. It's basically like, what does the client want to do with their genetic?
That's it. That's it. And majority of the time, and I have people that are like, I don't want this cut getting out. It's like, I already got it. But so let's say you submit genetics to me. I will share my entire list, just the names, just because I want people to be like, unless it's a key code or something, like, oh shit, he already has this one. So if they see it that we do sell it or whatever, like, it's not yours, but I'm happy to do that. Because not all, I've seen so many different cuts named the same thing that are just not, So that's part of the formulation, the key code thing, that it has who it came from, where it came from. And we're trying to keep the story with that, right? To where I'd love to have it to where, like, some of these older cuts and guys have been holding on to it forever can share that story. So the other piece to this, let's say we want to breed. I'll be like, hey man, I got a perfect male and I'm looking to cross it. I would love to cross it with you. I always split F1 seed stock. If you do a collab with me, like, here's half the seed, and help with other screening and cuts that I find. They get it too. But then we built it's the automated lineage mapping, right? So what happens is I cross this one with this one and it starts branching off. It made all of these children. And then let's say one of these males I cross with Gaby's stuff he's working on. It draws another line to that and starts another tree. And it fully maps the entire life story of what we're doing together, which is awesome. And having the stories with that, I can put them directly in the records too, to where, if especially people like me that I'm like, I want to know as much as I can about seeds that I'm getting or whatever, you'll be able to just click a link or scan a code on our packs and look at its entire history, pictures of every single plant, statistics of the entire populations we've screened, everything, because that's extremely valuable. Like, what should I expect out of this seed line? Or maybe I don't want it. Maybe I have some selected out of there that we could sell that has been tested and this, but it starts just automatically mapping all this stuff out. That's what I want to do, Gabby. I did all this to continue breeding and doing the stuff that I love to do. And with all the technology and testing and things that we can do, I get to share that with the people I work with or people that I'm breeding with, or be like, let me show you this, dude. Like let's work together. Like I know how to do it and I'll show you, or just come by the lab, let's run it. And then you do too. But I believe if everybody can do tissue culture, or maybe they're interested in breeding and genetics, if everyone is better about this or has the right tools, then we can do more work together, right? It's much easier if I could send you one of these long boys packed with 200-300 cuts of your sour, and then you could turn those into thousands, right? I don't have to root acclimate. Like, let's just exchange clean genetics that have been tested and
Do you have
build
any
together.
synthetic seeds there?
I don't, but I'll be making some soon. You love the synthetic seeds, right?
Well, like, for example, to ship
Yeah.
clones throughout the world, the
Synthetic seeds are awesome for that. Yep.
Yeah.
You always talk about a
people what they
purpose.
are.
I'm sure there's people who don't know what synthetic seeds are. Do you
Yeah.
guys mind doing like a little?
Absolutely. Yeah, I got something else I'll show you too. Another thing we help with. So synthetic seeds, a true version of those it's basically a synthetic embryo, right? That's the true version of a synthetic seed, which we can do that too for cannabis, which is very difficult, but we figured that out. But what is the application? And I'll get to that, right? So a lot of this stuff, it looks awesome, but you always want to think like, what the hell am I going to use that for? What is the application for what we're doing for this? And synthetic seeds is one of those. We have amazing applications that I would use it for. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So the process is simple, and you can get kit. I see people doing kits now and things like that, which is fine. It's really easy to make for super cheap. The difference in ours is I have our formulas that we use in there. So if you picture the A and B nutrients, or this could be MS media or DKW or whatever. I grew up in Lexington. I just saw that. Spent time in Lexington and Louisville, and then all over, traveling around there.
Just before you get into the nitty gritty, can you just say like what is a synthetic seed?
So it's basically the ones that you'll see these days, if it's not a true synthetic embryo, right, is basically a node or a piece of tissue that's just encapsulated. It's like a gel, protective kind of gel thing. So all it is, nutrients, hormones, things like that. Sodium alginate. When you drop sodium alginate into calcium chloride, it hardens into the little balls, right? They use it in culinary, the culinary industry. I think, is it boba? Boba tea? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's it too. So you're making weed bobas, basically, little node bobas. But what it does is it protects. Yeah. So the way you get that sphere is the higher you drop it, the more like spherical shape you'll get. Oh, there's a picture. I didn't tell anybody this, but Gabby, hopefully you don't mind. There's a picture of these synthetic seeds. If you start zooming all the way in, I have a picture of Gabby stuck in a synthetic seed. I'll slide in some just secret cuts in there.
Good luck finding it.
So what you can use those synthetic seeds for, right? If you look at tissue culture and node culture, right? You're decontaminating, and then you can put them in a tissue culture vessel to start growing, right? So one thing is, the fake caviar. So what you can do is, at least with the formula we develop, I could keep them in a refrigerator with no light, nothing, and that's going to protect it from drying out. It has, balance to where it, I'll try to not be as technical here, guys, but it basically has everything it needs to sustain life. So you're basically keeping those cells alive and intact. So when you want to pull them out and put them in tissue culture to start growing, you can just pull it. I've just stuck them straight in the media and they'll grow right out of that synthetic seed. But that is a perfect example of like the application, what I would use it for. If I need to send 10,000 cuts to another country, I could fit that in a container this big. They are way less susceptible to heat, temperature changes, to everything. I could keep, I think the longest I've had them in a refrigerator and maintain about 98% viability. I almost had it in there for like a year, and I could pull them out of the refrigerator and start growing them again. So there's tons of applications you could use this for. But that's really the biggest one I would use it for. Otherwise, I would just have them in a vessel, slowly growing, because when you kind of stop that growth and you're keeping them in stasis, that's when things happen as far as mutations or weird issues. If they just halt that metabolism, if you lower that down so much to where they're just, I kept them in a refrigerator encapsulated in these little things for a year, that will affect your genetics. I haven't tested, done DNA testing on that yet, but I will never say I'm confident in this until I do thorough testing, because the DNA is important, and maintaining the integrity of these genetics are extremely important. For me to breed with, and for everything, just preserving some of these classic lines and stuff. But that's basically it. If I explain that, okay. You can just put a node in there, suck it up with a pipette, drop it into calcium chloride, harden. It's just a protective little piece. I guess more classical definition would be having an embryo. So it's synthetic embryo, essentially, to where it can actually you can plant these. They will grow roots. It will grow similar to like a seed. And yeah, it's difficult with cannabis because there's so much variation with cannabis too. But we figured it out quite a bit. That's another thing I'll be jumping back on. Like you're saying, Gabby, how cool would that be? You get like 30 Staten Island sour synthetic seeds you could just plant. That'd be awesome.
Well, the other thing, we were talking about earlier. So I'm trying to think about like what makes more sense. But let's say you're an outdoor grower and you grow from seed, okay? While your plants are in vegetative state, make some synthetic seeds, drop them in the refrigerator. You don't even have to
just ready to go.
Be culturing them, okay? But at the end of the season, now you're gonna know which ones are the best and which ones you want to remove from culture and prepare to grow the next season. It's just
as far as selecting phenotypes.
Yeah, because we don't know what we have. So before
I brought this up. So I didn't mean to cut you off, man. It was the perfect time for a side quest. So this is another thing I help people with, right? The team, I guess, forgot to take cuts, or they're going to lose a phenotype. They called me up. I was like, bring me any organs that you can. This is another thing tissue culture is valuable for. And this is how we can use this as a breeding tool as well. But the plant was getting harvested that day. The rest of them, this plant was fully ready to die, get chopped, right? Purple, there's no green left on it. But if I could find a living cell, make sure I don't have any code on there. So what I did, I took a few pieces of some different organs here, and this is at very end of harvest, right? If you get them earlier, they're much easier. But I'm generating new cells from a leaf disc. That's all I can. As long as you have one living cell, you can turn it back into a plant, right? It's called totipotency. So now that we have new cells that are undifferentiated, right? They don't have direction. They're not like, I'm a root cell, I'm gonna be a cell wall, we'll do this. Then we can turn them into whatever we want, right? And that's the premise of how a lot of the, at least the cell work on tissue culture works, right? So if you look, let's see if I can get a good shot. See these little roots? Yeah, there's a better one Gabby has, but now I'm making those cells grow roots. Again, this is a piece of a leaf. So I can basically rescue plants. I have a lot of rescue protocols. Yeah, there you go. Those are raging. And then I can get that to shoot. So then we're going to change that direction of the cells. Be like, I want you to be a shoot. And we're doing that through hormones and external triggers, right? Temperature and light. So I always start with getting them to root a little bit because it adds another layer of access to nutrients and hormones, right? If you look at a leaf disc on top, they'll start curling and changing. Then but if it has a root, it's able to start pulling more of this stuff up in balance. And it's easier to get them it'll pop up a little shoot and that starts growing and we can transfer it right back and save their genetics, right? So there's tons of applications that you can use. Like tissue culture is a toolbox. I need to add the word box. It's a toolbox, right? We can do genetic modifications. We can remove viruses. We can use it for micropropagation. We can use it to, there's a good question right here. Acquired immune.
Chad Westport.
Chad Westport, sir. Restore health and clean fire. The results remove acquired. It was just a PM. Yes, absolutely. So if you look at what we're doing as far as a meristem dissection, right? We're stripping everything out. We're going down to cells. They're very confused. They're like, what the hell's happening? We're getting rid of all the good stuff and the bad stuff as far as pathogens and beneficial everything that accumulates over time in the tissue. Some people, I hate the term genetic drift. It grinds my gears. But when people say like it's just not performing or whatever, and you've tested it for pathogens and there's a lot of stuff there that people don't test for it doesn't really have an effect. But if you picture all this stuff building up in the tissue, it's depleting resources from the plant, right? That's just an easy way to look at it. But so if we get rid of all this stuff, the first thing we want to do, and this goes to the acquired immune system response, right? The first thing we want to do is re-inoculate with the right beneficials and the right things. There's competitive exclusion, meaning it will outcompete any other bad pathogens, right? Even if it's sitting in a clone cube so we want to pack that stuff up with these beneficials and they work together. Mycorrhizae, beneficial bacteria, like all this stuff. So that's another study we're doing so we can learn exactly what the best stuff is for that. We have a big project lined up with an awesome group you guys will hear about. So competitive exclusion, just for people who don't know, is let's say I pull out a completely sterile plantlet from tissue culture and I'm trying to get it to root. There's nothing to outcompete or fight against any other pathogens. There's zero, they have an open, I think Gabby, you said the open hotel reference. Is that what it was?
It's a hotel with 100% vacancy.
100%. Exactly right.
And
they have
so
nothing to fight back.
Populate that hotel with good guys, so that when the bad guys try to move in, the hotel now has limited, if any, vacancy at all.
Yeah. So that's a perfect example of competitive exclusion. I believe, man. Don't trust anything.
My job is to make stuff simple for people.
I know. So, with that being said, right? If you look at what acquired immune stuff is for a plant, there's things that will trigger it. The best thing you can do for your plants is develop a mycorrhizal system, right? Mycorrhiza, beneficial bacteria, right? But if you get into what we can do and apply in precise amounts and measurements and all this stuff, jasmonic acid, that is part of triggering this immune system response. You have, there's a whole suite of these things that will turn that on. So it can be done. What I've found with our formulas and program and the way we are managing this stuff they pick it up so fast. You know, and I'll just do stuff for people for free, be like, so you could taste the difference. The other one I was stealing from Papa John's is like better ingredients, better tissue culture. And it makes a massive, massive difference on this with this
Or
type of work.
what did you
Right.
say today? We should make a T-shirt with what?
Oh, dude, if nobody said this yet or uses it, I want to coin it, make t-shirts. Knowledge over noise. That's fire. I don't know. I got a few hot lines, but yeah, I said that because you see a lot of people talking and dropping products doing this, and they want. I just can't do that, man. I'm like, just don't talk. Let me do my work. I want to improve and work with my team and build and things. I want everyone else to get credit, you know, do their things. But
Well, you'll get the credit. Everybody will know who the man, who the Wizard of Oz is.
it can't just be me, man. It takes the team, you know, man.
There's some questions
Takes the
that people
team.
asked earlier. You know, let's start answering some questions on tissue culture. But one question that people asked earlier was about like, Not So Dog had an experience, you know, back in the day where he bought a bunch of plants. Now, to put this in perspective, it was already years ago, right? So he
Mhm.
didn't know as much about tissue culture and cannabis at the time that we know today. But he purchased a bunch of plants in tissue culture, and then he had a problem with a lot of herms, right?
Yeah, yep. I've seen I've seen people get at like commercial scale, like we'll fill your whole flower room. And I've seen all of them just pop off. So there's a lot to that, right? Some of that gets into the more technical side. If you give me a little wiggle room
You can
here,
get it. I'll give you a little wiggle room.
right?
But I mean, you know, okay. Actually, I'm gonna reel you in from the beginning. The bottom line is when we're doing tissue culture, we're using hormones to stimulate the plant. And how about I tell the simple version, and then you can go more in depth if you where you feel it's
You got
necessary.
it. You
Right?
got it, man.
Okay. But
I'm ready.
so when we're doing tissue culture, we're using hormones to help stimulate the plant to grow, whether it's to grow new shoots, to elongate, or to produce roots. Okay. You know, we're using hormones to help us achieve that in a jar, you know. But when you take that plant out of tissue culture, well, first of all, the misuse of these products can be a problem. So, for
It's
instance, if
not
you
good.
use
Yeah.
too much or the wrong hormones, you know, then these plants are gonna, and that's probably what happened with Not So Dog, right? He got plants, you know, that were pumped up with hormones, and when these went into the field, it made him herm.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, using a proper protocol that's been tested on cannabis, um, you know, will help with that not happen. But
Mhm.
when you pull the plants out of tissue culture, like when they come directly out and go into a media, we could have some issues where there are some hormones still in the plant. As that plant grows, and then you cut off of those plants, then that becomes less and less, if not non-existent. So that's why,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, sometimes it's better to flower out Gen 1 instead of Gen 0, you know,
Correct. Yep.
because you're at this point you've given it a chance to get rid of some of those hormones that were used in the tissue culture process.
That's dude. You killed it, man. You're on the team.
Is there anything that we need to add to that?
No, that was good. So there's more to it, right? But that is a big piece.
Yeah.
I first want to say that mutations for breeding, that's what I want. I still want the clean version, but forced mutations can be awesome, and you can find wild stuff that could change the game. So, but if you look at stability in general, right? A lot of that comes through the reference I use is like a sick mom plant. If you're feeding it the wrong nutrients, it's the environment's not dialed in. Over time, those clones get harder and harder to root. They also become more susceptible to disease. They right, and then they eventually just kind of die. So cannabis is they want to survive, right? And I use just the general reference of they all have the potential to create pollen. Period. You can stress a plant out to a point and it will create pollen. Some of them are way more prone to it than others. Yeah.
Somebody said they like my shirt, so
Fire, dude. I need to get some gear, man. Tracksuit. Oh, we were talking about tracksuits. Those are coming,
Yeah.
dude. So
Jesse,
yeah.
can I ask you one thing? You know, in my facility we have a cut is wedding cake. We call it the Portland cut. You know, the
Mhm.
from Portland, but it's called just Portland cut. So it's like the thing is we have it for 6 years already, and only
Mhm.
three customers had a problem with it harming, but only in the beginning of the flowering phase. It makes the pollen sacs only in the first nodias, and then when it's going up, it no more flowering, and some of these are even sterile, I would say, you know. But
Yeah. Yep.
many,
I've
you
seen
know,
it.
it's like but the cut normally when I tell because many growers grow it so long time now in the last 6 years, nobody tell me anything about nanners, you know.
Yeah.
But three growers or four growers had that in 5 6 years, you know. What
Mm.
is the factor? Because it's the same cut, I have it in the same SOP that I have, you know, with Rockwool or Easy Plug. I have traditional cloning system. What would be the case for that?
That's a good question. So if you start here, there's different types of hermaphrodism, right? And believe it or not, some plants that we see as female could be male. It's how they're expressing, right? They could actually be males. Um, some have the intersex traits, right? Which is, or like true hermaphrodism, where they're going to grow both parts. And then some is stress induced hermaphrodism. So, like the bananas, right? Coming up. They all have the potential to be, to display stress induced hermaphrodism. I mean, not that hard. You crank nitrogen up at the wrong time, and it goes back to like they want to survive. They're like, shit, something, we're in a bad environment. We need to make seed. If you just keep that in mind. So if you go to a lot of times, if you start seeing hermaphrodism on the lower parts of the plant, that could be intersex traits that you just haven't seen expressed to the full extent, or picture where that environment is low. It's not getting enough light is the majority of the time. You can see them start to turn and be like, shit, we're in a bad environment. We don't have enough light. We got to make seed to keep this population alive, right? So I always go to the evolutionary mechanisms of survival, and it usually kind of leads you into the right perspective for that. So genetically, there's a lot that can happen. Some, like I said, are expressing as female, but they're really male, and vice versa. That can happen. But some have multiple markers. Because you think like the stress induced hermaphrodism, right? It's not like we have a piece of DNA that it's got it. It's stress induced hermaphrodism. There's multiple factors: sensitivity to nitrogen, light, overwatering, and all those are multiple sets of genes and things happening together. So
You
it's
know,
hard to.
one of the customers definitely was watering it with too cold water. That I know, you know. He was
I mean, I was gonna
he
say the
Yeah,
same
wanted
thing
the
before. You
yeah,
had two customers
the
that had a plant term in 6 years. My first guess would be they did something, right? Like,
yeah,
and now
yep,
you say, oh, he watered it with like water that was like ice. I mean, he
yeah.
stressed the plant. It made her the plant tried to survive. It's not really hard to understand.
yeah. It's naturally these plants want to create seed. We as humans want the sensibilia, right? And especially since there's been so much feminized seed breeding and stuff, I only breed with males. So on that side of breeding, learning how to screen males properly and do all that is huge, because there's parts of the male chromosome that contribute, the only source of this, to disease resistance and vigor and stress things. And so a lot of it is, I think somebody might say, like poisoning the gene pool with feminized cuts and crosses and triploid stuff, and like you never know. So that's the other, as far as the breeding side, like hybridization side. And then there's the factor of the epigenetic side. So epigenetic above genetic. So it's essentially limiting DNA's ability to express. There's stuff like that. This also relates to the TC question we were just talking about, right? So it's the same thing. You got a sick mother, it's in getting the wrong nutrients. For TC, the wrong balance and hormones and everything. It can happen rapidly. And some of the location of these, more specifically methylation, right, is directly related to gene expression, gene silencing, and regulation, right? So if you throw something in there like that and a little bit of stress, who knows what's going to happen? The crazy part is that passes on to the next generation. So if you think of it almost like a memory from, I need to look more into it, but like instinct, like animal instinct. If you think of that, like how do they know, some of these animals, to like do some of this shit? Like they're just been born and they know to go. There's a lot of different versions of that, right?
Drink milk.
Drink some milk, man. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm gonna get some milk. Like, how do they know that? So there's a lot that needs to be studied and understood because it's so complex. But I think with AI and stuff like that, we'll be able to kind of unravel all that, because it's not just one thing. It's all of these things together influencing and changing. But those methylation groups can just as quickly release and change. So what we found with our basically the formula we developed, they're healthy all the way through. There's zero deficiencies. A healthy plant is a healthy plant. You shouldn't look at tissue culture plants and be like, that's a severe magnesium deficiency or something. Like, they look like shit. And you see that a lot of places, because that's what has been published in the white papers and studied and things. And that's how people approach the design of some of these things, right? So you pull that out of tissue culture, combined with endogenous hormones, we're fucking cranking in them. And now think about the epigenetic pressures and some of these other things. Hell yeah, they're going to hermaphrodite, man. Like, what the? They're like, oh, we just got out of this crazy place. Like, we have to procreate, dude. We got to make seed. Like, what the fuck is that? This is not a natural process, man, right? So that is why, you asked Not So Dog or whatever, and there's a lot of places that I've seen that happen. It's the baseline formulas, the methods, and everything pieced together to reduce stress, to activate those acquired immune system responses, to use as little hormones as possible and external pressures to get the shoots where you want them, and then the methods to multiply without using hormones. I don't use hormones in multiplication, and I get 1 to 50 multiplication. And every plant that I'm bringing out,
So
they're healthy.
In the multiplication, you're just using like A and B fertilizer. You're using agar and sugar.
That's it.
You're not using hormones.
No. So, well, it depends what I want to do. I can use a low level if I want to expedite that process, right? And we've tested, especially pulling plants out, how much like hormones from the media is left in there and left in the agar that we pulled it out from. That's one way you can start calibrating and and getting that dialed in. But the other, so what I do is I have picture just a crop rotation, right? And you got a clone, and that clone's going to a mother, and then mother you're going to clone off of, fill a room. You organize your sets the same way. So if I take this long box here, when they're filled up, only filled half of it, I'm going to pull one of those out so I can double check everything, make sure it's healthy, growing. And so I have a healthy mom that's reset those endogenous levels of hormones, and I can put it back in. Then I'm going to take some and put them in either tubes or multiplication. I don't need them to grow fast because I just pulled out 1,000 of them. And I just leave them there, not in a rush. And they're just stacking nodes up to where we're keeping those levels down as much as possible and perfectly healthy. They have everything they need. So, because over time, it starts accumulating in that tissue. A big problem I see people doing is like, I can't get any of these things to root. It's like some of these hormones, like I use BA for a lot of reasons. I have every single hormone in existence here, and I've used all of them. Some of them work
Is
awesome.
BA indolytic butyric acid?
No,
Or
so
that
it
IBA?
is
That's IBA.
BAP, so BAP,
Okay, right.
benzoaminopurine, I believe. Yeah, so BAP at higher levels can prohibit or prevent rooting. Simple as that. The reason I use it, especially when scaling up, building a team, doing a lot of this stuff, it is way less volatile than a lot of these other things that are endogenous plant. The plant makes them themselves. So what that allows us to do, you calibrate and make sure you get the exact levels for what you're doing. It's way less volatile, so I can keep it. I can dilute and keep it for a longer time without just throwing hormones out that have expired, because you can start using them and there's nothing left. Because some of these things are really volatile, right? And you're like, oh, I'm using these hormones, and
Yeah.
they're not doing anything. So it's a big advantage there. And it's synergistic with IBA, as is a lot of other things. So it's the reason I use BA. It's easy. It's easier and cheaper. Like, we're doing a lot of this stuff. So why would I spend a shit ton of money on these like other hormones that I'm going to throw out and not be able to use, right? So it has to be cost effective. Stability, longevity, it works great if you have these levels. But what BA, I would say BAP, I think people say BA, benzoaminopurine, can do is prohibit those from rooting if you have too high levels in there. And that's a problem I see a lot of people get into is like, shit, we got so many shoots and things. Good luck rooting. They won't, because that hormone is slowly building up in that tissue, and they won't root. Simple as that. On the other side for rooting, and this is another point that causes hermaphrodism and all these issues coming out of tissue culture we've seen, is that so the way these plantlets are absorbing nutrients is through diffusion, right? So the density of your gel can slow that up, or speed it up or slow it down, how fast they're just absorbing all this stuff. IBA is pretty volatile. Exposure to light, different temperatures, things like that. You could lose up to, 80% in a couple weeks. And then there's just none left in there, potentially. So what people do, they're like, here's my rooting formula. You have a bunch of IBA in there. It's absorbing rapidly. As soon as you get a root, those roots take off and they're absorbing the rest of that IBA all at once. And that's who you'll see stuff come out of TC that has these weird long single leaf things, and they're like, that ain't right. So once you clip those leaves up and clean them up, they look great. And you sell them to somebody, you sell thousands, and they fucking turn on you just like that. It's an unnatural level of hormones that are left in there, right? So going back to what you said, Gabby, is I don't like micropropagation. I see massive advantages, but I can't stand and be confident and stand by it until I do a lot more testing across a wide variety of genetics because there are huge differences. So what I'd love to do is pull that out, and you can pull out 50, 100,000 little things and make mother stock is exactly what you said. If you clone those plants, just like on a regular mom, right? The way they're getting roots, part of it is the darkness, the end of that you stick in a cube or whatever, that's going to trigger redirection of those hormones, auxins, a lot of other stuff, to where there's like resetting that kind of flow and the balance in that tissue, the endogenous balance of hormones, right? Because it's the plant itself is mobilizing and pushing them to create roots. And that's you get way more stability coming through that way as far as across tons and tons of different cultivars. I have some that they can take a whole lot. They're not as sensitive, right? They don't have all this weird stuff going on or sensitivity to 10 different things that is going to make them turn into, start dropping pollen. I'm not going to take that risk for my own stuff or anybody else's stuff. Like, why take the risk? So there's ways to get around that. And going back to the IBA in that media, right? So if we don't want to overload it with IBA and we want to control that diffusion process, but as soon as it roots, it's going to get too much and get wonky, right? How do we solve that? You can do, if you have filter sterilize some IBA solution, and you could add things like citric acid that actually helps stabilize auxins. Let's throw them in a sterile shot glass for a minute so it's absorbing directly in those concentrations that I want, just like Clonex, right? And then put it in your rooting media that has better, like lower levels to supplement anything through that diffusion. They fucking root, pull them out. They don't have weird leaves so I guess and that's just one way to root. You can also root ex vitro, right? But if you use too many hormones, they're not going to root.
I mean,
Right?
just to be clear, the IBA you're talking about, this is what everybody's using for rooting hormones right now. Like you said, Clonex, Dip and Grow, everyone's using those hormones already to get their clones to root.
Yeah, and so when you dip a plant, cut in Clonex, you're not giving them like 3,000 mgs of fucking IBA, right?
Right.
And once they root, they're not rooting straight into just a bucket of IBA, right? And that's, I guess, the analogy I was trying to get across. And there's safe levels of everything. I have like 10 different rooting hormones that you can use. Some work better for different reasons, depending on the application, right? IBA, it's cheap. It's endogenous to the plant itself. There's also IAA, which is way more volatile, but IBA will get converted into IAA in the plant. So if you understand some of these things, then you're able to manipulate it and use it correctly and prevent hermaphrodism or true genetic issues, mutations, all that stuff. But it all has to start from the very beginning and keeping them in throughout the entire process. Stable, healthy, no deficiencies, because that will just start compounding issues. You throw some hormone stuff on top of that, just start over. Not worth it. So it's learning, like controlling all that stuff. And I just give you recipes. Well, there you go. So I saw somebody mention gibberellic acid, right? There's different kinds of gibberellic acid, GA3, GA4, it's all kinds of shit. You can run into a lot of issues using that. Again, like PGRs in general, if you use properly, you shouldn't run into issues, right? Just use the least amount possible. So GA3, if I I've done I feminized 3 plants in my life. I just don't like it. I'd rather use males, period. Way better across the board. And
Thank you, my thank you, my
I
man.
wish more
Thank you for
people do
this.
it. Oh, dude, you breed with
I'm the
males?
same. I'm the same thing. You know, I don't want any feminization. But this is the road is closed. Then you know you are selfing something to something, and then it's just one expression. What who is
You're
interested
not
in
you're
this?
not
This
you're
is
not selfing.
McDonald's. You know.
It may not just be selfing. You know, you can be making a cross with a
Yeah,
reversal.
yeah, you can make a cross, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's still McDonald's, you know. It's not you know I would say the traditional way of male to female, you know, having sex together produces the best genes, right? I mean, this is
Yeah.
nature. Has You cannot trick nature in that sense because it's perfect, yeah, and everything
Yeah.
else is fake, you know.
Yep. So I think my opinion, I know somebody's like, the market wants femmes, and they do.
Chad.
That's why everybody started
They
making
do.
femmes. There's a there's a good way to make femmes, right? But it doesn't start, you pop seed, pick something, fem it, and start selling. That's not the way to do it because you haven't bred out some of these traits, especially traits you can't see, right? Maybe it's recessive or hermaphrodism things or, that kind of stuff. So if I get to maybe like F3, F4, and I'm like, damn, this is solid, like solid. We've selected against some of these like stress induced things and they're sensitive. If I have something like that, then I would, because I just don't do it now, but because I want to see the full, rainbow of recombinants that we can get. As soon as you fem something, like you don't. You get more of the
You know
same. You
that
get another,
I think
another.
the ideal situation with male and female is that the male is a good one, but very recessive in the sense not dominant. So the female
Hmm?
gets dominant in the cross because you are crossing it to a female that you actually, if you have, I don't know, apple banana cut, you know, you want to have something that is expressing like apple banana on the cross. You know what I mean? You don't know
Hmm.
the male is just a
What if you're
male.
trying to
It,
find
it gives
something
you the
completely
base.
different?
You
That's what I'm trying to
can,
do.
but you can, Gabby, you can, because the cross will give you a variation of those females, you know, because the
Yep.
male,
Yep.
I know what you mean. If I cross, OG Kush, you know, or I don't know, Lumpa headband to Super Silver Haze, what will come out right now, you know? Will it be more sativa or more like the indica? You know, this is really very far apart genetics, what I would tell you,
You
know,
know,
or any
there's this.
haze cross to a very OG plant, you know.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you have, yeah, the variation, but still, you know, you still have the numbers will be, even if it's more to the female, it will be more number to the female, so it will be
So,
less of the
Yep.
male, you know.
so
Absolutely.
I felt that way for a really long time. And do you know Colin from Ethos Genetics, Jesse?
I know I don't know him personally, but
Yeah.
I know who he
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
He made this video where he talked about femmes. And he does it. So maybe he has a vested interest. But what he said I felt was very compelling.
Mhm.
Okay. He said he does femmes because he knows exactly what he's working with. And the thing about it is selecting a male is kind of arrogance. Unless you're doing the you know, what I think more breeders should do, where they try to get a male to reverse and make female flowers, so you can try to
Mhm.
maybe get some terpene profiles on it or something like that. But
Yeah, you can use
when people
ethafon.
go, "Oh,
Yeah.
it has this leaf morphology and it's growing like this, and so I think it's a good male," or it's not the fastest, or it's not it's not the first one to flower. It's like, you know what? Like, you don't really know until you
You
do the
see the
breeding.
progeny.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're gonna
Yep.
Yes.
go and you're gonna flower out every male and then grow out all the progeny, Okay, then but at least when you're looking at two females, you know
You
that
know exactly what.
these are two
Yep.
sexy chicks, and to
Yeah.
me, that has value. And
It is.
so
It
like
is. Yeah. Yep.
he changed my mind, and that I think that there's just value in both,
There
and
absolutely is. Absolutely is. Yep.
when people say, I think femmes are garbage, I used to think
No, no,
femmes
no,
were
no, no.
garbage. I used to think
Done
femmes were garbage, but
correctly,
now,
there's huge application for it, right? Especially for the like people that because buying seeds, I mean, it's expensive, man. So fem seeds are huge for like home growers and all that. Like it's awesome. They get females. Um, and a lot of my, I guess, breeding stuff is just long term too. And here's going back to the toolbox, right? What you can do along with male selection process. I have a whole thing cross section of the stem. You can look at ratios of xylem and phloem. I used to take a carrot peeler and I'd skin a male, put it on the microscope. You can measure trichome, morphology, density, tons of stuff that male is going to contribute, right? The cluster size and density of the male flowers. So there's a lot of stuff you can get right off the bat that's useful if you have an objective for breeding. Instead of like, let's see what this makes, which there's a place for that too. And I use all of that stuff for parental lines, right? So if you look at that itself as a toolbox, like this is my favorite weed. I'm going to cross it with this male that is bred to pass on these traits because I want it taller, I want higher potency, whatever. And the dominant traits this passes on in most crosses is that and allows the other female to express the flower and everything else. That's where I would utilize because if you want to lock in those traits through feminization, you could always cross them with the male whenever and reintroduce some of the traits that are disease resistance and vigor and some of these fit traits is what I'll call them, right? Because if you look at males, like why do males grow taller than the females? Is so they're higher up and they can release pollen to cover a greater area, right? So yes, femmes are more likely to herm. Anything that you're manipulating hormones, I would say, right? Everything. So what are you doing to create feminized seed is you're blocking ethylene production to where they will start releasing pollen, right? So it absorbs, it starts, lowering and blocking that when you flip. And anytime you're manipulating hormones, I get uncomfortable because you do see more hermaphrodism if you haven't working a femline. For people that aren't too familiar with feminizing seed, you can make a femline, plant it, and it'll crush. But you can still work a femline to get more stable and reduce hermaphrodism stuff. I'll go to like S3 and I'm feeling much better. You've seen some of the stuff that could pop up. Yeah, and Chad Westport, like, I don't know. I've seen it in populations. As far he said, femmes are more likely to herm, but where's the proof? Where does right? So some of this is based off of like that's kind of how biology works, and I'm fucking with hormones. And I've had a ton of fem seeds that crush every time. I have zero problems if they're done right. So there's absolutely a place for them. I don't breed with them personally because look at the male chromosome and the majority of what that's contributing is the strength, vigor, some of these things that prevent hermaphrodism long term in breeding lines, right? So that's usually why I do males only because I'm doing like long term breeding projects and stuff like that. And I could, yeah, well, it's something we could look deeper into, man. Pull some, run a trial, do some, just study it and understand it more. is what
I
I
would say
say.
too, as time passes on, more and more lineage is going to have feminized, genetics in it.
Right.
It's very
Somebody, Chad said that. Chad said, "Well, the last thing I did was a male female, and that's where I had problems." Well, it could have been that that female was made from something that was a herm, or that that it had it
Yep.
happen to him. And like a perfect example, I mean, we all know that the Chem 91 or the sour diesel was made from herm. So and Not So Dog made it a point to point it out last week that like people shouldn't be so scared of a herm, you know, because
Yeah,
it's one
yeah,
plant that it's just one of the plant's like survival tactics. And as long as it's not like super pollinating the plant, it's not the worst thing. And in some cases, it could be the best thing ever. Like that's how we got the
man.
sour
I've
diesel.
had some bag seed that is like some of the stuff I grow personally. It's like the weed was so good. I actually got one here, like at Herm. Like I'm growing this anyway. I don't care. Don't care. But if you look at it from this perspective, and this is something we like, I'd love to just dig into, man, because if you might not see it the first round, right? But if you start breeding with it, you start seeing hermaphrodism or issues there. It's in the line somewhere. It could be from your male, could be from your female or your fem female, right? You don't know. So and or you might not see it until down the line to where either there's recessive traits that are contributing to that stress induced stuff, or there's so many things that could happen. But the first, selection is just trying to select against all of that stuff, stability, vigor. Then I look at like flavor, potency, like all the stuff that we want from the flower, because it's so hard to breed out once it's in that line. At least from what my experience and what I've seen, it's like, well, these are all they herm out, whether it's stress stuff or intersex stuff or everything. So I try to just start with parental lines that are bred for stability and the agronomic traits. Like this, I have some that are like barely have to be watered. It's like, man, this thing is still alive. I've been gone for a week. Like that's a huge, valuable trait. But if you put one that doesn't need much water in a commercial setting with everything else, like then you're babying that one and changing line, right? So it has to be kind of a complete system for that. But I think hermaphrodism, there's a lot more to be understood, whether it's like multiple sets of some of these genes that are contributing to it, or it's a hormone thing from the process, or like, let's figure it out. You can only figure it out by breeding, right?
You
And
know,
collecting the right data sets.
like 15 years ago, I was working for with the hemp. I had a company which produced hemp. We had hemp, growing hemp, certificated, and it was like few strains were hermaphroditic and by itself, because they were bred for it to be hermaphroditic. There was a whole
Oh yeah,
field
yeah,
of plants having like male and female parts on it, because it's
yep,
made for production of seeds. These plants, they have like this structure. The male parts would like start to rot already on the plant, and next to it was the female parts, which were all seeded. And because
yeah.
it was so like it grew like sticks, it was really easy to harvest.
Dude,
And
I'll
I
send
don't
you
remember the name.
pictures of that. We
I
had a
think it's
project in Kentucky doing the exact same thing. Because
yeah,
then you look at hermaphrodism as a beneficial trait for that. Like that's
yeah.
the
It's a
target.
beneficial trait for the farmer,
Yeah.
because he was like on the one field he has on the same plant male female parts. It was all seeded. He needed for seeds. He went through with the machine and he harvested seeds over.
Yep.
No problem.
Yeah. I think we were
For free.
doing like high density seed planting, just dumping it over the field because they stretch out, right? Exfoliation, you don't have
Yeah,
these
they
stalks this big.
like spears.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
the
yeah,
the
yeah.
benefit, like end of the year, you've cut all this up for biomass or whatever you're doing, and you just
Yes,
reseeded for the next season, man.
yeah,
Like they're ready to go. You just leave them there. And that's a huge benefit. So let's say it's like land remediation. These are hyper accumulators that can just pull up and clean land and store it in the tissue, right? That'd be awesome for that. Just like harvest it. You're just knocking seeds around. You come back next season and you're like, it's growing again. Like that's a huge benefit.
it's permaculture in this sense. Then you know,
Yep. And you
I know.
stomp
You
the
know,
rest of it down, creating some mat lines, and yeah, man, that's the way to
yeah,
do it. Because like I said, it depends what you're trying to. It depends on the objective. Depends on what you're
yeah.
trying to do. There's a place for femmes. There's a place for breeding for hermaphrodism. Sativas, yes, dude, we have some crazy sativas. I saw somebody comment. Bring back the real sativas, man. Love
This
it.
time is coming now. I think. Yeah, this time is approaching right now. For the sativas, it's opening the doors.
Oh man, one of the new ones I got is I can't wait for you guys to try it, dude. It's so good. But I have some like 120, 140 day sativas. Stuff people are like, I love sativas. I was like, oh yeah, like hit this. I'm like, that's a real sativa. They're like, whoa. Like it just fry
We
you
just
real quick, man.
we just did a show a couple of weeks ago with the Budulero guys, and they grow the
Mm.
crazy um, long flowering sativas, and they grow the pearls, which I still haven't ever gotten any of that stuff. I really want to give that stuff a try.
The
But
pearls, it's like early pearl and some of those
no, they're like
lines, or what are you talking about?
just
Oh,
they
like the
just
little,
yeah, they're just
yeah,
like
dude.
skeletons up
I
on
got
shelves.
Bracts,
the
little bracts.
Yeah.
Yep, I got a bunch of those from our buddy, like the bunch of Mexican hazes and a bunch of dude. That's the weed that's all I want to grow, man, because it's so good. And I think they have much longer flowering times. They have much more time to synthesize compounds, and there's so much more character. Oh, that kind of looks like Dr. Grinspoon
Yeah.
style stuff. Yeah, yeah. I don't have Grinspoon, but I'd love to grow that one too, man. I got some crazy
And
mutant
I don't
collection,
know
but
that I don't know that I want to grow it because I haven't even ever smoked it. I'm like,
yeah,
bro,
I've never,
but I
I
do
haven't
think
seen
it's
it
beautiful.
forever.
I do think
The
it's
people want the
beautiful.
dank, dude. The people want the dank. They say we have some
There's a lot of people nowadays that do
crazy
want
shit
that
coming.
type of stuff. You know?
A friend
Yeah,
of mine had Dr. Greenspoon here a few years ago, but he harvested it in 1st of November, But it was not
yeah.
finished, So
Yeah.
So
it
they
was
take
like 4 meters high or 5 meters high, but he tried to bend it down, and it was like 3 meters and 2 meters. It was nothing, It has little,
Well, at least you knew
yeah, yeah.
he had the real deal. It sounds like,
He had a
Yeah,
right?
real deal, but
Yeah, it
we
was the
could
real deal.
never
That
experience
shit
the
grows like a
quality of it,
fucking vine.
No.
man. I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
some that are like they're such a pain in the ass to grow, man. Like the first time you grow like a true sativa, you're just like, fuck. You got to stretch that out so long. You're like, what the hell is happening? But man, there's so much character. Or first of all, people need to let their plants finish on like when they're finished. Everyone's doing this 55 day harvest cycle. It's like, man, if you just wait a little bit longer, it'll be so much better. But those sativas, man, you're just sitting there like, I got one harvest this year, and I stopped because I'm just tired. I don't want to. But it's so good, man. One that
Well,
I got, I haven't planted
the
yet.
thing about those the Budulero guys is they're the only ones doing it out here.
That's awesome,
And
man.
so like
I
because
wish I
they're
could
the
just
only
buy weed
ones
from
doing
them.
it, they're creating a reputation for being like they're the guys that have the like long-term
It's
flowering
awesome.
sativas. And then they're able to get a higher price because
Yeah,
I
man.
mean,
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah.
herb, but no one has, long-term flowering sativa at dispensaries unless it's coming from these guys. Pretty much, it's like they're
It's
some of
not
the
it's
only
not
stuff out
profitable.
there.
Yep. Not
Right, but
profit.
it is
If they're not
profitable.
just making stupid money off people,
Well, no,
I get upset, dude.
I mean, it's profitable when there's no competition. They're able to, and they
That's
grow
true.
it.
Yeah.
They're growing greenhouse weed, and they're getting, indoor prices. And you know what?
Let me write this down. I want to
The
check. I
reality
want to
is,
check out what they're
they
doing, man.
actually deserve that price because of how long it takes to grow it, and
The
it's
quality.
difficult. Like the
Yeah.
Slovenian Hobbit said, he gave it. Somebody had it, and they couldn't fucking grow it. They couldn't. It's like so they grow this perfect long flowering
Uh,
sativa. It's called Buttolero. I'm gonna pull up their
Baudelaire, I'm
thing.
gonna look them up, man. I love.
And we did a podcast with them, just a couple of weeks ago. So you guys can find that on the Craft Growers Network. This is their logo.
That's classy. That's classy, dude. I love
Yeah,
it,
Buttolero. And
dude. I'm happy to hear people are doing that right, man. Because that's. Oh yeah, dude. That is it.
that's
That is
African
it.
haze times the original haze.
I
Yeah,
have some
so this
African. It's African land race from Ghana across like top 44. I need a plant. They're nasty, and then I got a bunch of stuff that I'm ready to push in, man. But that's all. I'm happy to hear somebody's doing it right, dude, because those are my favorite ones to smoke, man.
yeah, honestly, like
Least
there's
favorite to
very
grow.
little opportunity to smoke it out here. It's super hard
Yeah.
to find it unless you're buying, this stuff.
And if for your listeners, if you haven't been able to smoke something like that, do it. Go get some because it's an experience, you know.
Yeah, it's a long time ago that I've been smoking it here. We had haze here for it's like 20 years ago, but
Mm.
it's very hard to find these days. There is some guys that do it, but it's very very closed guys. And we are so micro. I'm from Slovenia, man. I'm a hobbit, so it's like so so it's like you don't it's like but people still do it. Some home growers
Yeah.
still do just haze, but they do it for themselves. They don't put anything out of the market.
Oh man,
That
that
is
gives me that picture gives me the wigglies, dude, already.
Check this
Damn.
out. This is a crazy picture. I mean, honestly, you know, rookie Gabby.
wow.
If I had ever gotten a plant like that, I might have just thrown it away right away.
We should have like a haze off, dude. I'll send out the longest sativas we can find, and everybody from TC, and we just grow them, dude, and see. That'd be fun.
Well, they have stuff that goes like 120 plus days. So
Yeah, a lot of mine are. I got a ton in seed form that are just crazy. I haven't popped them, so I was like, I ain't got time for this shit yet, but we'll be there
yeah.
soon. You know,
So
and it
if you
goes.
guys haven't checked it out, check out that podcast with the Boodalero guys on the Craft
So
Growers
I
Network.
got some seeds. Bin chicken, Australia. I think it has Freak Show in it. I want to double check. That I want to plant. They look pretty crazy too. Because I know somebody was talking about some mutant stuff. Oh, that Santa Marta Gold. I haven't seen that in so long. Delicious treats, man. Pine tar Dulaga. That's what it's called. So that's another fun one I want to check out as far as like mutants or. I have too many seeds, dude. I get like paralysis when I plant. I'm like, I just want to plant all of these right now, dude. Let's go. Let's go.
Jesse, you know what? I wanted to ask you already in the beginning of this podcast. Maybe I because my connection broke down between these. Where did you start to realize genetics? Because in my life, there was a certain point. I was a grower, but in a certain moment of time, I realized the genes, how it behaves, because you grow,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
grow, you grow, and then it starts to be like this is different from that, and that is different from that. What is? This is a
mm.
family. It's another family. It expresses differently, because all
Yeah,
of this
yeah,
we just look at sisters, all the time we look for the sisters, for the beautiful,
yep.
for the one. If you correlate to the for the humans, you're looking for the most, the one, from all the sisters. Maybe her sister is really ugly, but she is
Yeah,
perfect, you know.
yeah,
But
dude. Sometimes it's not the ones that look the prettiest, man, that you find the most interesting things in. So I got like I was introduced early on. So some of the people out in the hills in Kentucky, surround Appalachia, right? They breed, select, and they have the same genetics. They rely on that stuff. It's like they survive.
but
Oh,
in the
I got Colombian
beginning,
haze too, and a bunch of crosses.
they
So
they got it they got it part of it from Amsterdam, a part of it from Colombia, a part of it from the old times. It was a coloration
mm,
of these things.
it's kind of a culmination, right? So back in the day when I was getting into weed, I was like, I'm so cool, man. I smoke marijuana. That's like high times and all that. You'd read about it, be like, "Oh, who's this dude? That's Seed, Staten Island Gabby, dude. Who's that guy?" And it's becomes like part of the culture. I was like, "What the hell? Like, is breeding marijuanas?" And so I was like, piqued my interest there. But as I got older, I'm like, man, I want to do this because at that point I was like studying and just make some crosses and see what happened. Because reading about it, like Mendel and things.
Yes.
I'm not Clearwater genetics though. I got my cool breeder name's Low Key High Tech. Nobody's heard of me because I don't care.
You're low key.
I'm fucking low key, dude. We're gonna drop stay with a bunch of exciting people though. You'll see. But yeah, so I was always fascinated just in science in general. I was like, my entire life, my brain has just been on fire. I was like, can't. I just like to read and study and learn, and so I got into that. I damn sure wasn't interested in pea plants. Right? You learn that in high school. You're like, fuck pea plants. I smoke weed. What's up? You know, so and that's what really prevented me from getting deeper into the science world. I was like, nerds, I don't need that. I'm fucking cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Until I got into the industry and I was like, shit, I gotta learn all this. So the first facility I was working with was Sam and Austin at Free World Genetics, man. And I got to see populations and make seed at big scales and learn how to manage it and store and do, and that's what kind of like catapulted me in there. And I've been breeding, a lot of stuff before then, but I didn't have a facility, I didn't have a team, I didn't have, it's a way different. Everyone's excited, everyone's involved and being like, that pheno sucks, kill it, like all these, and I
Oh,
got to
yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
like just more intimate with that. And after that, I went to biotech and I got to work with the top geneticists and, so I had all of these questions. So I think I was there like I want to say like 4 or 5 years before I went to biotech. So I had all of these questions that nobody would help answer and nobody would, or they just didn't know because I was just asking crazy questions. Who knows? But so when I got there, I was ready to start asking everything. I was like, what is this? Is this real? Does that happen? And they're willing to show me like how this works and why this doesn't and how to test and measure. And I was like, holy shit. And that's really what got me. I'm more fascinated with breeding and breeding technology and tools and things than anything else. Tissue culture is just another tool
Tool.
that you combine with everything else that becomes extremely powerful. But I think that's what it was, sharing that mentality with other people, and that's what these guys share with me, and that's what I try to share with everyone around me. Man, be like, you can do this. Let's do it. It's fun. Let's roll.
It's
Because
very
you learn and you
positive.
get.
Yeah, very positive attitude.
Man, I got some dark. There's been some dark times, but it's
That exactly.
if you throw yourself into something and you start chasing these rabbit holes and chasing, you're like, what? It connects you with people that are also passionate and will share. Because
Absolutely.
there is an entire world. You get into not only breeding but genomics and then testing, and it is overwhelming. So many long words. But even if I don't know all of it, which I don't expect anyone to, if you know somebody that specializes in something that you can ask questions, or you know where to look, you can understand more about it and how to use these things. Right? Like I will tell you, be the first one to tell you, be like, I can do it, but I am not the person to do that for you. But I know who is absolutely qualified and will crush that. I'm going to show up because I want to learn more about it and pick their brain. You know what I mean? So if you know where to look, you can learn a lot more information. There's just so much bad info out there too, and there's so much that I want to keep like learning. It's overwhelming, man. I'm on fire constantly. But that's really where, like, what got me deeper into genetics and the motivation is being around other people that are passionate about it, that love breeding. Simple as that, man. You know.
You need to come out to California and take a work vacation. Take a vacation
I am, dude. I'm
and
going on like,
educate me on some more tissue culture.
I think I'm on like 2 years. I swear it'd been like 12-hour days. I'm kind of used to it now. It's been a lot, man. But we're moving in. They're finishing up paint today. I'm gonna start moving stuff. The team's crushing. So we're about to have I got a couple 8-foot flow hoods that are amazing. So we can set up the video, live stream. If you guys want, I'll just live stream me, just whatever,
Shit,
dude.
yeah.
I think you should.
Oh man.
I got AI
People live
cameras.
stream. People live
Got
stream a
AI
lot more
cameras ready,
gloriously than
dude.
that.
We have an app that we're going to release. I have all the protocols done. So I want to, Gabby and I are going to be digging into this so we can make essentially master classes with the recipes, with the protocols, with live stream, with support. And if the community wants to learn something, we got the resources to set up projects and truly, put real science behind it. And we will release our formulas so people can buy those too and have a lot more interaction and things. Genetics, breeding, exclusive drops. The breeders I'm working with are excited, so we can start breeding more stuff, and it's gonna be awesome, man. It's gonna be awesome. We're setting our lab up in Denver. That's the first one, and then New York's the second one, and California. So I'm gonna come see you as soon as we set this lab up, which doesn't take long because we're about there. I'm gonna come take a vacation and work with you, Gabby, and we'll get your hands up. Make sure you're
Can't
set
wait.
up, and we can coordinate and start doing shit. But yeah, it's not just tissue culture, man. It's special guests that are amazing on the industry side, people that everybody knows, or some of the top scientists. Some of the top companies are excited to start blasting us and give their full support, so we can work together and we can share what we've learned. And the comment I think Gabby brought out last time is like, this is a business, this is a company, but we are going to make it affordable and make sure everybody can get just the best of the best as far as knowledge and resources and genetics and everything. So that's what we're coming out to share, man. That's why I've
I
been
mean,
secluded for so long, just making sure
to give
it's done
people an
right.
idea of the cost, like a flat of media that you would make, and I'm not including like the jars which you would get to reuse, but just the ingredients that would turn into the gel. That stuff costs you about as much as a flat of any rooting media. Like maybe it's a little bit more expensive than Rockwool, but I think it's less expensive than like rapid rooters. you know? So it's not expensive to grow in tissue culture. It's just the
It's not at
myths of
all.
tissue, the myths of tissue culture is, oh, it's really expensive. You need a fancy
You need
lab.
$10 million to
Right.
start a lab, dude.
Number
By the
one,
way, I'm
false.
in my back. I built a lab behind my back in my backyard. Is where I'm at right now. That tells you
Yeah, I
anything.
mean, yeah. Well, okay, so
um,
myth number one, you need to have a lot of money to set up a tissue culture lab. You can't do it on a budget. Myth number two is that it's really hard to do and, almost impossible. And, and then there's all the other,
Yeah, but
this
that's what
myth.
everybody told me about cloning in the beginning, like years ago. It's no, don't clone. It's not possible. And now I have a business with it, and I'm feeding my family, and you know what I mean. You just need
Well,
to
yeah.
focus on the thing, and that's it.
Well, a
I
lot of
put
it, man.
Very
If you
simple.
think, be like, it's very difficult and expensive, so it's easier just to pay us to do it. That's where a lot of it gets. If you look at a lot of these big companies and things, like they've already raised the capital and blown through it and have massive facilities. They got to keep up. They got to raise profits next quarter, right? Part of why I built this lab behind my house and work with the people I do is so nobody owns us. We own 100% of the company. We own 100% of everything we do. And I
Grassroots.
can do whatever I want with it, which is help people. And because if everyone else could do it, there's a lot more fun stuff and business we can do together. I'm not in for the money, dude. I just like, I got to pay my bills, but we have other
Yeah.
divisions and we even structured our company for this so we can give employee owned shit and really fight back against a lot of the stuff that's happened in this industry, man.
I'd also
Because
like to
a lot of
bring
this
up
isn't hard.
the fact that everyone's talking about like lab equipment, like what you can buy, but what you have, Jesse, is a lot of knowledge and years of experience and figuring out, the protocols and the media and the ratio of the hormones and how the hormones interact with each other. And last time that you and I talked, it was basically, oh, this is my new protocol. This is the ratio, and I found out that this one works better than that. So I mean, it doesn't matter how much lab equipment you have, that knowledge that you're offering to these people it's extremely like, how can you put a price on that? So
But
Well,
yeah,
that's
thank you, man.
that's the stuff
Because
that's harder to get.
it's not just the formula, right? We already have a micro lab list pretty much done, vetted. So if people want it, we can share that too. So you get cheap equipment. Don't buy a bunch of stuff starting out. Like, kill plants and suffer for a little while and you get the hang of it, right?
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
biggest
Yeah.
learning curve, honestly, is feeling comfortable in a hood, working in an aseptic or a sterile environment. Because the what I tell like people I train is like it feels like you put shoes on a dog and they're like it just feels weird for a little bit. Once you're comfortable and you have good aseptic technique, the rest is it's not hard, man. I've done a bunch of the hard stuff for you, and we will walk through everybody. Somebody did ask if we're doing embryo rescue. Yep, we'll do laboratory management design, aseptic technique, like going over all the methods and technique stuff. And then we'll do all the basic stuff, multiplication, making media, everything. Then we'll get in more complex stuff like embryo rescue, synthetic seeds, everything. And that's just for the TC stuff. We'll get into the breeding stuff and preservation, pollen collection management, all that stuff. Let's
So
see
I
here.
just want to take a minute, before we go, to tell a story that I've told a few times before, and give a shout out to my friend Bill Graham, who he was mentioned in the podcast before. He was the first person to ever, bring tissue culture kits to the market in California, or you know in the U.S., but like for the hobby market, right? And he was my friend, and he gave me this tissue culture kit, and I was scared to use it. I felt like I had to get ready. I had to like build a clean room, get myself a flow hood, and I had to like get myself ready, not only with all the supplies, but in my brain, get psyched up to do it. And um, he comes to my store a year later, and the like kit is sitting in the same place where it was when he left it there. And he's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
I gotta get a place. I gotta. He's like, "We're gonna do this shit right here, right now." And I'm like,
Yeah, I remember this
"Okay."
story.
And
Yeah.
so he brought in his little toolbox. It was like a Rubbermaid tote, and inside of it, he had the media that was already made. Now, this is the same media that Jesse and I are going to sell you guys. Like, we can sell you vessels filled with media, right? And
Or
so,
the ingredients. Yeah, if you make it
yeah.
once, you're like, what the fuck am I paying all this money for
But I mean, well, we're going to
garbage?
sell it. We will sell a kit where the media is made, but it costs you way more money than making it by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't really want to send made media, but the whole point of it is we'll inspire people to hold on a second. We got somebody's really loud. Is that you, Sasha? Can you mute it? Yeah. Thanks, buddy. So, um, anyway, if you get the media and it's already fully, it's made. Okay. I'm sorry. I got a little high today during the podcast, like I normally
There's
do.
those
So
marijuana units,
yeah,
dude.
I'm a
I
little.
knew it.
I,
I knew
I
it was
smoked.
catching up to you.
I smoked a bunch of this Earl Hill, fucking giant booger. Still working on it, but anyway, so he brings the tissue culture kit in, and he has the media that's made. And we did a couple of things. Number one, we divided plants that he brought that were already in tissue culture, but we also took some clones of plants that I had around my store. We took of a pepper plant and some other stuff, and we worked in a Rubbermaid tough box turned on its side. And people ask, "Oh, did it
Yeah,
have like
you
a
did that.
clear piece of plastic with rubber gloves?" No, it was just a Rubbermaid tough box turned on its side, and we wore masks so that when we breathed, we weren't gonna just breathe into the cutting area. And in there, we had a plate, scalpels, forceps, and a spray bottle with alcohol. And we
Yep.
spray the plate down, wipe it down with some sanitized, paper towels, and we would just take these tiny little cuts off the plants, and then we put them into the media that had already been prepared. Then I put them on my rack with other plants that were growing, and every single one grew, like every one with zero contamination. Like this
It's
isn't
so
just,
fun, man.
I mean, like it's it's hard for me to say every single one survived and grew. And I should have looked this up before, but I had a scented begonia, and it would bloom in the jar. And yeah, so tissue culture, it's just not that hard, and
Not hard.
we're gonna have a kit that's gonna make it even easier for you to get your toes in there. And then after that, then maybe you'll say, all right, I was successful. Now I'll go out and buy myself a flow hood. Now I'll go out and buy myself a nice, autoclave or pressure cooker to make the media.
Dude, you could use a microwave if you have to. Just
Yeah,
start doing it. Like
yeah,
because when I learned this, and this goes for a lot of other things I do too, but like you fall in love. Like I love this. Seeing the results long term, it's way different than growing. But you see your culture, they're like little pets. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna go check on my cultures. But it's so fun, man. And I learned way more doing this than I ever did growing weed. I've grown weed a long time, but this is Jesse growing weed when he gets old because my back hurts, but you fall in love and you learn a lot. So I'm excited to share what we have and we know, and get a lot of people that are amazing at what they do, uh, that they're ready to jump in and enjoy and share what they know, man. And it'll be awesome. I'm
It's
excited.
gonna be fun.
You know, I'd really love to see like a MacGyver kind of video series where you're just grabbing random items, like, oh, this tote would
Dude,
make
I
a great
build.
stiller.
Oh, it's
Let me
so funny
grab.
that you
Dude, I have
say
a whole
that.
bucket of projects that maybe it's inside. I will build my own just everything. I'm like, well, that does the same thing. Let's duct tape that together.
You should
Yeah,
do like a
I'll
video
show
series
people how
where
to.
you're putting together a tissue culture lab from stuff you're finding around your house. Like that'd be so cool.
Dude, Bill
Dude, it's not
Graham.
hard. I
Bill
can. Yeah,
Graham.
we'll show you how to do all that stuff. Like whatever the people need, man. Let's do it.
I
Got
wouldn't
you.
like to call Bill Graham a hoarder because I don't think he's a hoarder, but he's one of those guys that just like finds shit. You know what I mean? And then like repurposes it. So that's not a hoarder. He's a repurposer. But he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I
A
found this.
repurposer. I love it.
I found this, and I turned it into a flow hood, and just like
Dude, I've just
just
be crafting stuff. I was
yeah."
trying to find my media dispensing nozzle for a peristaltic pump because some of this stuff is so hard to find, or you don't know what to search for. But you're like, that's all it is. Let's just make my own, dude. Yeah, we'll do all that stuff.
How
Anyway, if
about
you can't
the
tell, I'm a little ridiculous, and I want to have fun with it. You know, it doesn't have to be like serious scientist Jesse. There will be times where I'm like, all right, you'll set yourself on fire if you don't do this, but it'll be fun, man. And we'll bring in, yeah. Oh, on that note, you care if I show them this, Gabby, or tell them what it is? What's in
show?
the genetics in here?
Yeah.
So I was training. We got a contamination. This is one of Gabby's red grape Lebanese. So this is another thing you could do. You could disease resistance testing. You can measure, you can isolate, identify whatever it is. But I had a contamination and I left this out in the cold. It got cold this entire past week. But this thing, there's other ones that are just dead. This one, there's mold, some bacteria in there. They got really, really cold. These things are doing just fine in there. I
plant
mean, I'm not
doesn't
going to
care.
use them, but that's another extremely valuable thing you can do with TC is inoculate with pathogens and test, measure resistance levels. You can isolate nutrient, like I can remove nitrogen, just nitrogen or whatever I want. And so you can test, you can do all of that stuff with tissue culture. So just another fun thing we're doing. But yeah, man, I'm excited to move into the lab and get rolling.
One
We got a
thing
lot of
one thing you told me about in the past was doing the pheno hunt in tissue culture, right?
yeah,
Was,
yeah, you could do that
was it in
stuff too.
was it in tissue culture or was it just like ultra small plants?
So you can flower out. I flowered this golden goat in tissue. Nobody would smoke it. They're like, I don't know, man. I'm like, all right, but I made seed in tissue culture. Is that valuable? No, not for me. Or unless to study, right? But you could do all that. So as far as phenos, there's a few different versions because we're like assembling the breeding pipeline. Oh, this starts moving again. This camera's awesome unless it starts going crazy. I had a Zoom meeting. It was like these like big money
They're
guys,
walking
and the,
around.
the camera started zooming in. So I was like, "Hey, I'm not sure what's happening." It was just one big eye. I was like, "I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on." It was ridiculous. But yeah, look at the application, right? When you're looking at phenotypes or selecting, like I want to see the full expression, at least at some point. But you can grow small plant, and we actually developed some stuff I'll tell you about that we'll release at some point. That you can flower a ton of stuff out. It's not in vitro, but you don't have to water. You don't have to do anything. But you can get plants this big, full flower. You can look at every test that we ran compared to the big ones. It's full express. We found a hermaphrodite, and we're like, well, could it be because we're growing them like this? We had the original moms from seed that haven't been in vitro, haven't been flowered it out, and it took to the end, actually just harvested to figure out that it hermaphrodite. So that's huge benefit. So you can cull that stock down right away, and then I would look at these applications like culling out all the bad until you start using resources to actually grow plants out to full size. So there's a picture just as a pipeline, right? So if I did them in vitro, I'm not going to be growing weed to smoke it in vitro. You could see a lot of characteristics and traits, maybe some colors, but even potency and things like that. I wouldn't trust any of those numbers. Like the data is not clean and reliable, but you can see a lot of stuff. So I
But
look
that's
at
not
that
where
as
we're
like
going to be growing them.
maybe, I mean, we could get huge vessels and just flower plants out, but I don't know. I have no idea. We can find out though. So using it as a tool, getting just, cull out the bad and then move to the next stage in the pipeline, right? And then cull again until I'm like, I want to keep these, put them in tissue culture and just keep going. So there's a lot of ways to do it.
Guys, I wanted to ask you this kit that you're gonna do for tissue culture. It's gonna be available internationally also.
Dude, you're trying to get one of our kits, man? Of course, dude.
Yeah,
We're gonna get a
because
lab set up
I'm
out
not only
there.
asking for myself. Also, I'm asking, but there is all these European countries, that is growers there that are listening now,
Yeah.
and I think, yeah, that would be something that they would be really interested in because
Oh,
it's a
absolutely.
whole
Yeah.
bunch
Well,
of
yeah, dude,
development.
international everything. Yep. Um,
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, we talk about like, let's set you up, dude. Get you a lab set up. I
Yeah.
already got some of the things figured out that we need to figure out. But yeah, it's really like if you like another product, I don't think you will because it's pretty crazy. Then go for it. But we still got your support and happy to help and do whatever. But that's the goal, man. Is to come together, share information. The products we sell help us fund more of this. You know, let's run some experiments for the people if they got a question we want to dig into. I'll pull one of the you know top scientists in that field and have a discussion and learn. That's what we're trying to do outside of our regular program stuff. So that's it, man. It'll be fun. And we'll start doing we can get into the genomic stuff and DNA testing. I'm happy to share that too. It's a lot more expensive to get started, and you can't use a microwave to make media or things. But even just perspective on that gives you a better, just a better advantage in where you're trying to learn or how things work. I guess I'd say,
Well,
a lot of stuff we can do.
what I didn't include about the my story when I started doing the tissue culture with the Bill Graham kit is once you break the seal, you can't stop. Right.
Dude,
So
it's
like,
so fun.
I did
Yeah.
it that one day. And then after that, if you walk into my store, it just smelled like alcohol. Cause I'm just like spraying that alcohol spray
Yeah.
bottle all day on my plate. And, it's just, and like you said, it's fun, particularly for people like us that love plants. When you see it growing like this, um, it's pretty
What's
magical
up,
shit.
Grambo? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Gary. That's a friend, dude. I just want to say hi.
Nice. Well, that's what we do.
Yeah, dude, it's so fun, man. And like you said, you learn a lot, but it's the most like satisfying stuff that I do with cannabis. Other than like the genetic stuff, like I get to put my headphones in, block out. It's almost like meditation, and I just work. But then you get to see like every small change that you make in your formula or like you see it over time.
I'm not gonna
And
lie, it can be a little bit tedious because you're like, but like you said, you get in the zone, you got your headphones on, and you're just like in that space, and you're like focused on it and stuff, and It's
You know,
pretty
something
cool.
that we haven't really talked about too, and Jesse, I know that you and I have talked about this before, but another good entry point for learning some of these techniques is if you ever dabbled in mycology.
That was like one of my first like aseptic thing, like mushrooms. Yep. Use the same equipment, the same process. I got some hybridizing some sclerotia, philosopher stones. We can get into mycology. A lot of it's the same stuff. So yeah, if you learn this or you learn mushrooms, you can do it. It's a same stuff. Different formula. For spores, at least, there's isolation, serial dilutions and all that. We'll go over that stuff. Because the more of that stuff you learn, the more tools you have or perspective to develop something or figure other stuff out. It's all connected, you know. And you get some fire mushrooms and weed at the end, hopefully. Right?
Gourmet, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, mushrooms. That's right, man. But we're excited, man. I'm so excited to get into this lab. I've been losing my mind. So
Well, there's
this
apparently
place,
over 100 people, like 135 people that are really excited because they've been listening to us all this time, go on for over 3.5 hours.
oh shit.
So yeah, the guys at the lab are probably gonna be like, "What happened to Jesse today? He never
Doesn't
takes the
matter.
day off."
I sent Bubba, my friend Bubba jumped in to help. He's like, I'm coming. I was like, fuck yeah. He's awesome, man. So many people have been like overwhelming support and help. It's been amazing, man. Because I'll do it myself. I'm just stubborn like that. But it's been surrounding myself with the right people that care, and it's life changing, man. So just having being able to share what I love to do and learn from people that love what they do. That's what that's what it's about, man. So
I always
I'm
tell
really
people
excited.
that you couldn't not help people if you wanted to.
I'll just start doing shit for free. I got a call the other day. I was like, just bring it over,
Oh,
dude. Let's
we'll
go.
have to edit that out. He doesn't do shit for free. He doesn't do shit for free. But what you
Yeah,
do is share your knowledge, and
absolutely,
like
man.
if
Yeah.
somebody starts talking to you about tissue culture, they're gonna have a hard time shutting you up.
You're like, I
That's
get
the
it. I
reality.
gotta go.
But I was
Well,
just telling
that
Jesse, I was like, there's a lot of information that we can give away, um, but we also have to. Oops, Jesse has stopped recording.
oh,
There we
can you
go.
hear me still?
Jesse's back. Excuse me. Somebody said that I was a little bit low in the recording.
My headphones went out.
They died?
Happened to me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was
That might have
confident. I was like, headphones are fully charged, dude. It's all
Yeah.
good.
We've been talking for 3.5 hours.
I was that guy.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
dude. Somebody told me a long time ago, as a phenomenal scientist, and I try to pay that forward, man. He was like, knowledge is free if you know where to find it. I was like, I'll tell you anything. If you show up, ask me questions, I will tell you. You know.
people mentioned that I was a little bit low and I just raised up the gain in my microphone. Let me know if that sounds better to anyone, or let me know if it's too much right now. But after 3.5 hours, I do think it's time to end this first part of this. We still probably got a whole bunch more stories about Jesse smoking weed as a youngin,
See, I
and
slid
and,
right by
and
that, dude.
yeah, and
Got you in Southwest, dude.
more tissue culture knowledge. Somebody made a post and was like, "Please do this every day."
Dude, Jesse's
Um,
corner, man. Just give me like
yeah,
a talk about whatever, dude. I'll call it, yeah, whatever you want, man. I'm coming out of the lab, my lab dungeon I've been locked in for far too long. So whatever I can do to help contribute or answer questions. We need to start writing questions down too that we can help respond to or set up some
I
experiments.
think there's a way with Riverside that I can download the chat at any time. If we had a producer, it would be a little bit easier because they could do it. But you can like download the chat, and then somebody can highlight questions and feed them to us. Because a lot of people ask questions that went unanswered for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry about
There's a
that,
lot
but it's just.
to cover. Yeah.
But
Oh, man.
yeah, it
We'll
was a
make it
ton of
happen.
fun.
Like I said, we'll get them down, and we want to respond to the people that have questions that we can help with. Simple as that, man.
Yeah, check
So,
out Low Key High Tech on Instagram. Of course, you can hit me up. Of course, you guys know to find me at the Craft Growers Network on Instagram. And yeah, if anybody's interested in taking this discussion further about how we can help you with tissue culture, if you need virus remediation, if you're looking to do long-term storage of genetics, if you're trying to get your genetics. So somebody mentioned before, they said, well, does this mean that you can take a small grower's genetics and put it in the system and, get it worldwide? And the answer to that is, yes, we can do it.
we can.
But
Yeah.
we need to know, we're not going to just take
So starting
anything.
out, working directly with the breeders, and because I built a breeding software, cataloging, made all these things that will help protect breeders. So starting out, until we figure out a good way to keep things transparent. I know somebody mentioned about DNA, genotyping. We can do all that too, and we want to help the breeders get to that point. But I don't need people just sending me a ton of Blue Dream that they want royalties off of, or just cuts that they,
Right.
So we want to make sure we have those pillars of confidence in the genetics themselves. Be like, this is the cut with the story from so-and-so that's been holding it, or here's the proof that I bred this. Otherwise, you're just grabbing cuts and trying to make money off somebody else's work.
Well, what I was going to say is, if somebody were to show us something that was incredible beyond our wildest dreams, then then we would consider it. But we're not looking to just put everybody's shit in the system. That we're
all
not.
rich. Yeah, because we're coming to try and solve the problem, man. Because like I said, I know tons of MSOs and people that are just rename it, because they put it back on the shelf and it starts selling. And those things get lost. Who bred that? Who, all the things that are important, and the things that could lead to stabilizing and making this entire industry better, and not screwing the growers and the breeders and the people that built this entire industry. That's what we're trying to help with, yeah. So we might get to a point, if somebody has something crazy they want to breed with or something.
That's what I was saying. If it was something crazy,
we can put it in vitro, clean it, make a cross, split seed. I'm always down for collabs and things like that too, just because that's what I love to do. And I think I have 400 something seed lines we're starting to pull out and run, and we'll be able to we also have AI robotic stuff for breeding, and just crazy stuff that I'm excited to show people, that I'm hoping will change just the landscape of this for a better understanding, and better genetics and everything else, and have fun, because why else am I here? What are we doing if we don't love what we're doing? You know what I mean? That's it.
Well, anyway, I appreciate everyone for joining us. We will be doing much more content with Jesse. He's going to be doing some live streaming of him doing meristem, and we're going to do some instructional videos, and a lot more to come from the mothership. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to Cosmic and our Slovenian Hobbit. It's been a long time since we've had you guys on the show, particularly you, Cosmic. I know you've been super busy. So,
Jesse, I'm under a rock right now, but it's for my computer lab. I'm putting together a platform, so.
Oh, dude, we gotta catch up. I got some crazy stuff coming.
Dude, it's coming along. It's coming along. So I'll
insane.
keep you guys posted.
Wait till you guys. I haven't shown some of this stuff to you yet. Wait till you see this. It's gonna be so fun. But I'd love to catch up with you. I'm glad you guys made it out for my episode. I'm just joking. I'm here because mainly congratulations on 1 year, man, and thank you for giving the community a place that we could sharing and positivity out there and bringing people together, man. That's what it's about. So I'm honored to be a part of it, and we're gonna have some fun, man. We got a lot coming. That's gonna be really exciting for everybody. So
My buddy Louis Farmstrong, he hit me
Yeah.
up like a couple of days ago, and he's like, "Hey, you know that Thursday is your 1 year anniversary?" I was like, "No, as a matter of fact, I didn't. I'm glad I didn't forget my anniversary with my lady, but I forgot that it was the anniversary of the Craft Growers Network." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You guys released your first video on Thursday last year, and so
It's awesome,
yeah,
man.
I'm glad that I got to share it with you guys. Every one of you guys that have made it through almost 4 hours of listening to us talk about the mothership, and yeah,
Dude,
thanks a lot.
Rambo. Glad you got on here, brother. Good to see you.
We'll see all you guys soon. And again, for those of you that wanted to know about those long flowering sativas, check out our show with the Budulero crew.
I'm excited
Alrighty.
for that, man. I want some tasty treats.
Okay, so everybody remember, we are gonna stop recording. Don't hang up.